Hello, my crazy people. Happy Wednesday afternoon. Hi, Papa. How are you? I was actually distracted. I happened to look at the clock and I'm like, oh crap, time to go live. Oh, I am so tired. I'm a sleepy bear. So my mom came over this morning. She stopped at the store for me, got me some drinks, and hey, Bobby, and helped me stock up on some paper plates and things like that. Finally turned the heat on, huh, Papa? And we got, hey, Wendy, we got all the rest of the stuff. As far as I know, I think there might still be one box left, but almost all the supplies that we had already moved into the craft room. Susanna, I love you. Are now in the living room. So woohoo! Getting there. I'm getting there. I still have the supplies that are still in my room that are hard to get to. Um, hey, Papa.
Morning, morning.
Morning.
I forgot to
Well,
plug my laptop in, trying to plug it in real quick. Just got a low battery alert.
uh oh. Plug it in. Plug it in.
Yeah.
So I still have supplies that are difficult for me to get to, but I am gonna make the effort this week to get over there and get those out in the other room.
Morning, Bobby, Susanna, Wendy.
And my mom told me that my aunt wants to come over on the 17th with the dolly to move this storage unit that is my bedroom, move that stuff into the storage room. So I'll actually have a bedroom instead of living in a storage unit. So things are progressing. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Uh, this is my first live since, well, I've been on panels, but this is my first live since my absolutely amazing weekend. So publicly, thank you to everyone who made it one of the best weekends I've had in 2 years since John died.
You're very welcome
Hey, Vicky.
for my part in it.
Yes, Papa and Bobby and Susanna, and there were multiple other people. Donna from Donna's Diamonds, and Victoria, and just it was. My mind is so overwhelmed with the kindness that was sent my way this weekend that I don't even know how to express it. But my heart is smiling so high, so big that it. Yeah, I can't even tell you how much it meant to me. So thank you, everybody. I love you guys. You rock. And Susanna, that's a lot of stones you're sending my way. You're gonna get more than one piece of jewelry, okay? Oh, and the Yanni Cabochon that Mr. Jim is putting in the box because of giving me that silly nickname. Thank you, Mr. Jim. Um,
Yeah. I couldn't believe when he pulled that out for you. Oh, wow.
yep, yeah. I mean, I know he meant it as a joke, and that's why he gave me the choice. Hi, Bonnie. He gave me the choice of getting that star ruby, which star rubies are gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice cabochon. It had a really high profile on it. I'm like, oh, but because of the mentality of the people I hang out with, I picked the Yanni cabochon.
Yeah.
And I was gonna pick somebody and gift it to them, but there are so many different people that would actually appreciate that I can't pick just one of them. So what I'm
Well,
gonna do is I'm gonna make a pendant out of it.
well, one of the people already has several herself, so
Yeah, I know. Um, but I'm gonna make a pendant out of it, and I'm gonna do a giveaway. And it'll, people can enter it. There'll be a few days to enter it, and then I don't know, I'll probably have Rhonda use her little number picker, and that she uses on her phone, and I'll ask Rhonda to pick a number if she's available. If not, I'll have to figure it out on my own. But yeah, we'll pick a name type of thing, and
Yeah.
We'll do something. I'll figure it out, but it's gonna be a giveaway. So that way everybody has an equal chance.
Yep.
But yeah, I am much closer to getting my studio set up. I switch back and forth between calling it a craft room and a studio, so I've decided just to call it a craft studio.
There you go.
Yeah. My work area is much closer to being set up, and I'm very, very happy about that.
Cool. Well,
Me too, Susanna. Me too. So I got the water bill paid, and I tried to pay the electric bill, and my damn electric company, they're working on the website, so I can't pay my bill until the 5th. I hate that. I like to get all my bills paid as soon as I have money.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to spend anything. I don't want to mess up my bills. I have done that in the past. Mentally, it's in my head how much I owe, but I end up going over, saying, okay, I have this much I can spend, and then something happens, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've got mine set up for auto pay. That way I did that when I got the account. I didn't have to pay the deposit to get the electric installed. So
yeah. Well, see, I've done auto pay. I did auto pay with my water company years ago. They screwed up and double billed me, and it took me 6 months to get my money back.
yeah.
So I'm like, nope, not doing that again. Hey, Jennifer. So no, Bobby.
Hi, Jennifer. And hi, Vicky. I think I missed you.
Yeah, the landlord's not going to help with the bill, but I do think that I did have a leak and that he lied to me, because my water pressure in my kitchen is back to being normal.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely had a leak then.
Yeah. And he checked the meter twice. There's no reason for that. I mean, if I have a leak, the water meter is going to be running without, I mean, I was asleep and he knew that. So I wasn't running any water in the house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he looked at the water meter, then he went under the house. Why would he need to go under there if the water meter is not moving? So,
right.
And then he made a point of telling me that the meter's not moving. I'm like, okay. So, yeah, I think that, I don't know why he felt compelled to lie. Like I said, my landlord's moods depend on which narcotic he's taking at the time. So, yeah, I don't know why he didn't just tell me the truth, but it is what it is. As long as it's fixed and I don't have that $200 bill next month. No. My former roommate and John's widow actually helped me with that bill. She put $100 on that bill for me because she knew that I couldn't pay that much. So yeah, Susanna, some landlords do that. You have utilities included, but a lot of landlords realize that some people use more water than others. Like my son used to take hour-long showers. That's a lot of water, and so if the tenant is responsible for water, they're more they can serve or use it all as they will, But we definitely know now that it was my son that was running up the electric bill, because my electric bill was only $58.14.
Yeah.
As opposed to 135, which it's been,
Yeah, that's why I'm liking this cooler weather down here. My electric bill went down $8.
Mm-hmm.
My last one I just paid was just like only 47. So
yeah. So although when I was foolish enough to be in Sadie's auction when I checked my electric bill and realized it was low, and there was a cabochon. She had a couple of them, some things that, I broke weak and I bought some things.
yeah.
Hey, TG. But 2 of the things that I got were an investment, because I got 2 cabochons from Sandy that are absolutely gorgeous. And so those will be made into something that I sell. So that was an investment. And I got a mystery box, one of her little mystery boxes, and there's supposed to be cabbage, like a cabbage, at least one cabochon in that. So that again, that's a partial investment. And then I got a chunk, a very beautiful specimen of Chiricella. I'm not sure how to say it. Chrysocolla, yeah. And it's absolutely gorgeous. And I don't have any, so yeah, Susanna, that wouldn't work. They do have assistants here, but that won't work for me because the bill's not in my name, and Issa makes too much money to qualify. So, yeah, we do have programs here. They usually tell you that they don't have any funds left. Matter of fact, the same program that helps with that, we went there when we got the foreclosure notice for our house. And they told us, well, the director is no longer with us and we're trying to hire a new director. I'm like, well, how long have you been looking for a new director? And they're like, oh, about 6 months. So apparently they weren't looking too hard. They blow you off a lot here. They don't want to do their job, and a lot of them, they're getting paid. They have a job. They don't care about anybody else. So every once in a while you run across somebody who does care, like the lady who helped me get my ramp. So, but yeah, because Issa makes too many, because Issa has a lot of high paying clients. She does accounting, and she does people's taxes and things. She's making too much money a month to qualify for any kind of assistance, and the bills are under her name. So I think that's one of the reasons she helped me with the water bill, because she knows that I can't pay $200 on a water bill, and she knows I didn't use $200 worth of water. So, it was very sweet of her to help me out. I fully appreciate that. So, yeah. So I already paid the $110 that was owed on it. So that at least is paid. My internet bill is $80, and that isn't due until, well, they don't even post it. I can't even pay it. I look on the account and it says 000 until the 5th. So I'll be paying the electric bill and the internet bill on the 5th. I paid my phone. So I went one day without my phone. My mom called me this morning. She goes, oh, thank God your phone's back on. I thought something happened. I'm like, oh, God. Because I forgot to tell her that my phone would be off for a day. And she was kind of panicking. So, whoops. Sorry, Mom. And she wanted to try and pull all my son's stuff into the storage room. And I was like, no, Mom, you have to wait until we have the hand truck, because the 2 big boxes that are in there are full of books. And they're big boxes. I told my mom, I said, don't put so much in them. She goes, oh, it'll be fine. I'm like, oh. And I don't want her lifting them, and she would try to lift them. So, no. And they're too big to fit on the rollator. Like on the seat of the rollator,
Yeah.
the boxes are too big, they won't fit. So that's that size full of books. So no. Nope. So because my son's stuff is in the way. I can't access the shelves that I need to get to put my stuff away and start organizing my supplies. It's a pretty large area that his stuff is taking up, the boxes, and 2 laundry hampers, and yeah, so, and a tote. So it's all right though. I can still bring supplies out there, and I still, have to get the broken furniture out of there, and the dresser and everything. But if I have to, I'll try and, if I see him, I'll try and recruit my neighbor that does the yard work. But I saw his dog this morning when I put Simmy out. She all of a sudden, all the hair on her back went up, but she's wagging her tail like a mad woman. I'm like, what are you doing? And I leaned out the door a little bit, and there's the big Rottweiler standing about 15, 20 feet away, just looking at her. He wasn't barking. His hair wasn't up. He's just looking at her.
Yeah.
He's a very good dog. And huge. He's not even a year old yet. He's maybe 7 to 8 months, and he's huge. gorgeous dog. So Simi wanted to go play with him. It's what it was. She's like, I want to go play, and he's on the end of his chain, and she's in the little kennel. So that's not happening. I'm like, you'll have to love him from a distance. Sorry. But yep. So, but other than that, other than being frustrated and not being able to pay the bills when I have the money, I have, if all goes well, because I this time I figured the ATM fee into my budget. I forgot about the fee on the phone because it kept saying that all I had to pay was 75, but I knew it was like 80. So I'm like, I figured in $80, and it was actually 83 and some change. But I should have enough for a carton of cigarettes. I'm not sure yet. Chihuahua attack outside. Mm-hmm. The little dog alarms are ringing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my son, I don't know when he's going to show up to get my card to go get my rent off it, but he's said he would be here at some point. He showed up yesterday and picked up his package, and he never even woke me up. Like, nice. How much of my food did you take? You know what I mean? And he did go in my freezer because the boxes were shifted. They weren't exactly as I left them. And I think he grabbed one of the hamburgers out of the freezer. I'm like, And he left trash. And he opened his package and left like the top part that you tear off.
Oh.
He left it on the table. I'm like, you couldn't throw it away? What the hell?
Lazy.
So. But my son and I actually have had conversations in Messenger, and usually he just does one word and that's it. But we've actually had conversations, so maybe it's going back to how it was before he got irritated at having to help me out. Hopefully the resentments are fading away, I hope so anyway, because it gets me upset that he's just like, whatever,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just want to come over there and slap some sense into him.
Yeah, a lot of people do, but he's really big and he wouldn't feel it. Yeah. A lot of people have that attitude, and I understand it, but I know it wouldn't work. He quit his job. Actually, that was one of the messages he sent me. He goes, by the way, I quit my job. I'm like, what the hell? Apparently, the girl that was, because my son worked at Wendy's, and apparently the girl that was in the window screwed something up. She blamed my son for it, and then the manager or assistant manager, I'm not going to go back and read it, but one of the higher ups that was in there that was in charge blamed my son. Even though my son showed a proof that it wasn't his doing, they still blamed him, and the person in charge got in my son's face, and you can't do that to him. And so he gave her hell and walked out. But he applied at Aldi's. He was waiting to hear from them. He didn't tell me. He hasn't messaged me to let me know if he heard from them or not. Either that or he's going to try and go back to Jack in the Box, because where he's living now, he's closer to Jack in the Box. And he was making good money there, like $14, $15 an hour. So he should be able to find something soon. Hey, Fishing Tales. How are ya? So, the fast food places are always hiring, so he should be able to find something without a problem. He's not going to get a good reference from Wendy's, but, hey. Hopefully he'll get something soon. He did set aside the $200 that he usually gives me to help me not be homeless. So he does have that. When he said he quit his job, I was a bit worried about that.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, not to be money grubbing that he's accused me of. I said, but are you going to have the money that you used to help me out? And he's like, oh yeah, I already set that aside. Don't worry about it. And I'm like,
You hope he doesn't spend it before he gets it to you.
Yeah, well, he's really good about that. His monetary commitments he keeps. You know what I mean? He always keeps his word when it has anything to do with money. So yeah, he won't spend it. He he did do some shopping. He has packages on their way here. He did do some shopping, but that was before he quit. So he's kind of kicking himself about that now. And I asked him too, is he going to be okay to stay where he is, or are they going to tell him to move out? And he's like, no, because they can afford the rent on their own. They don't really need his help for rent. So they told him, don't worry about it until he gets working again. So they're very sweet. They're really good friends of his. He's been friends with them for like 5 or 6 years now. So they're solid. You know what I mean? And it's always good to have friends like that.
Yeah.
Cooking Mexican rice and baked potatoes. That's 2 starches. What is wrong with you? You should know better.
TG. Too much starch.
Yeah. You pick one, either rice or potatoes.
Baked potatoes slightly better than the rice. So throw the rice away and have the baked potato with the Mexican flavorings on top.
She does not have to throw the rice away. She can put it in the fridge and eat it later. That girl, what is it about her in the UK? The girls in the UK, they're always hungry. Wendy is always saying she's hungry too. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. Silly little UK brats.
Yeah.
I love my UK people, though. I do. So, Papa, when are you going to make jewelry?
Oh, some year maybe. I don't know.
Some year. Come on.
Yeah. I got to do like you. I got to get work area set up, and everything's just scattered right now. I did get a new. I've been looking at a new, better style computer cart that I had my desktop computer on.
Yeah.
And had one tagged on Amazon that was like $70, and a couple of days ago they put it on sale for $27, and I said, order, click. So I got that.
Wow, that's a really good deal.
So I got that put together, and that way, because I'm getting rid of my desktop because it's so old, and then it'll give me room. I can put my laptop, put my printer where I can actually reach it without having to move stuff to get to it, and then I can carry my laptop over to there, and then it gives me still a lot of work area. So
yeah, that's cool. And TG, yes, Americans love their food. We do. And Wendy, you are so not fat. Okay, I've seen you've been on my lives, and I've seen you. I've had video chats with you. You are not fat. So the girl, I can't say whether you are or not because I've never seen you. But
Yeah, Wendy's a toothpick.
Yeah, she is.
Compared to me, anyway.
Everybody's a toothpick compared to me, except my son. My son's actually bigger than I am. Although I think he's working on that, which is good. His problem is when he games, he just sits and games and he eats like, chips or whatever. So
yeah, my one cousin that comes over every week to help me out. That guy, I mean, he's what, 50, 55 now.
Yeah.
But even as a kid, man, that kid could sit down and he could eat 2 loaves of bread and a whole big 2-pound pot of pinto beans at one sitting and never gain even a half an ounce.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just.
Well, I'll tell you, my son was like that when he was little. My son was tiny, skinny as a toothpick until he was 11.
Yeah.
And social services changed his medication because he was on hyper medication for ADHD. And they, without consulting his psychiatrist who was prescribing the medication, without consulting her, the social service psychiatrist decided that my son was bipolar. And they put him on Seroquel. They put him on 50 milligrams of Seroquel at night. And they put him on, I can never remember the name of it. It begins with a P. And it's this huge horse pill. both of those. Now, when they put him on Seroquel, it was not recommended for anyone under the age of 18. It had not been, tested on anyone.
Yeah.
And I knew adults that were taking it that took 25 milligrams. So I'm like, why is my son on 50 milligrams of this shit? And both of the medications cause weight gain. And I wasn't allowed to see my son for 3 weeks. And I finally got my lawyer on it because they had initially given my son Ritalin, even though I told them never put him on Ritalin. It turns him into a locomotive. They just disregarded anything I said and put him on Ritalin. And he wrecked the foster care facility he was at. He was tearing pictures off walls, and he went nuts. And they punished him by not letting him see me. Well, I was having none of that. I got my lawyer. I called him. I said, they're not letting me see my son. I'm supposed to have visitations. They actually called and canceled the visitation because of what he did. And I was like, oh, fuck no. And my lawyer was awesome. He was actually a court-appointed attorney, which I usually don't have luck with.
Yeah.
But he was absolutely amazing. And he got in touch with them. And I don't know what he said to them, but the guy called me back and said, okay, your visitation is rescheduled for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, thank you. But it took 3 weeks. And my son walked past the visitation room door. And I didn't even recognize my son. He had gained 90 pounds in 3 weeks.
Damn.
And I immediately looked at the social worker. I said, what the fuck have you done to my son? I was like, I didn't even recognize him when he walked past the door. Why has he gained so much weight? And what is the medication you put him on? He goes, well, the medication doesn't cause weight gain. And there's no side effects from the medication. I was like, you idiot, there are side effects from Tylenol. You are in charge of children's lives and you don't know this? No. And it took me a week and a half to get him. And they actually gave him back to me. And I took him to a psychiatrist because I had to, get him off that medication. And she was like, why is he on this? And I told her why. And she goes, oh, I don't think so. And she called that psychiatrist, the social service psychiatrist, and ripped her a new asshole for not consulting with the active, psychiatrist. I was kind of shocked at the words she used. And she told her she was reporting her to the medical board. I was like, good, because that person should not be in charge of giving children medication.
No.
So he got back on his other medication, but the Seroquel, which was giving him night terrors, and the other medication chemically altered his metabolism. And he couldn't get rid, even when he got back on his regular medication, he could not lose the weight. And he just kept gaining and gaining and gaining. And I mean, at one point he was able to get his weight down. He was playing a lot of basketball and football, and he was exercising a lot. So the weight went down. But as soon as he stopped the exercise, it just piled on. So he's close to about 400 pounds at this point. So he really needs to do something about that.
Yeah.
Health-wise,
Yeah, he's going to end up like me.
But he is super strong. I mean, the kid can bench press a fucking refrigerator. I mean, I was like, Hulk smash that asshole with your pinky. Like, I mean, he is super, super strong. And he could fight. I watched him get in a fight when we were in Florida. So I wouldn't fuck with him. You know what I mean? I've seen what he can do. I'm not fucking with him. So, and he'll either smash you, throw you through a wall, or he'll walk away because he doesn't even want to bother with you. It depends on how his mood goes at the time.
Yeah.
But
sounds like he could actually put somebody 6 feet under very easily.
Yeah. I mean, I watched him tackle John off the porch when we lived over in Crackland, USA. We had drug dealers at the bottom of our street, so I call it Crackland. John had been drinking, and he bucked up to my son and got in his face and was yelling in my son's face, and you cannot do that with my son. My son is ADHD with impulsive destructive disorder.
Yeah.
He's not on any medications now. He's been off his medication since he was 16. Both John and I taught him some meditation techniques to stay calm. Every once in a while, he will have an outburst where he rants and raves and says all kinds of outrageous things, which usually hurt my feelings because they're aimed at me. And the next, I mean, an hour later, he'll be like, "Hey, Mom, what's up?" And I'm sitting there depressed as shit because he just said all kinds of mean things to me, and I'm like, "You realize what you did?" And he goes, "I say stuff and I don't mean it." And I'm like, "That does not make it any better." You know? But if you get in his face and trigger that impulsive destructive disorder, you're taking a big chance, you know? So, yeah, and he's big enough that he could seriously hurt somebody. And John was up in his face, and because he'd been drinking, he was at and John, my son hated it when John drank. Everybody hated it, but John turned around, he's like, "What you gonna do, boy?" And I'm like, "Oh no." And my son tackled him, and they landed about 4 feet away from the porch. That's how hard he tackled him. And my son was giving it to him pretty good. I had to go out there and grab my son's arm and stop him from beating up his dad. You know, I was like, "You're gonna kill him." He's like, "And your point?" I'm like, "Get off him." And he let him up. And I told John, I said, "Go somewhere and sober up because I don't need you here right now." So he left for a little while. My life has been so fun. Ow.
Yeah.
But, they worked it out and they were fine afterwards. But that's mostly because John didn't want to get picked up and thrown around. Yeah, I've seen what kind of problems can happen when people trigger my son. So he's probably lucky that he has such good control if he went off on the person at work. Because if he had gone the physical route and not just walked away, he'd probably be in jail right now. I do not have bail money, so. But what's funny is that, like, if he's out in a store or something and somebody can't reach something, my son's right there, especially for elderly people. Or if they're trying to put like a bag of dog food or a case of water and they can't lift it out of the cart to put it in their car, my son will walk over and help them. Yeah. He's a gentleman, and I mean that's how I raised him, was to be helpful. So that's why it hurt me so bad when he started treating me like he did. But he's still respectful and helpful to everybody else. Yeah. So at least I did something right in that aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, part of the reason why I'm currently separated is that Karen's son is that. I mean, he's always claimed he's like manic depressive and this crap, and the doctors say no. They look at the way he acts, and it's not that. But what you just described, the impulsive destructive, that fits him to a T. But yeah. His mother sent him to the Philippines to be with his dad. They had already been divorced, and he wanted to go. His dad wanted him to come visit him. He was in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And kid gets there, and he just ties a key to the house on a string, puts it around his neck, and said, "Here, just do whatever." So, I mean, he was just running the streets every day through the bad areas of the Manila with all the hookers and everything, and got into drugs. Yeah, he was 10 years old at the time.
Oh wow!
And he still to this day blames his mother for making him do that. She didn't want him to go.
Yeah, but it sounds like he's got a little bit of narcissism in there too. Narcissists always blame everybody else.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bonnie, they take it out because they're too close to the people that they love. They don't realize how badly they're hurting them.
Hey, Wes.
Hey, Wes. But I know in his heart he's a really good person. I mean, he's very generous. He had 3 friends that he was close to.
Barbara. Yeah.
Hi, Barbara. He had 3 friends that he was close to, and he used to game with them all the time, and he worked with them, and several times their PlayStations would break, and my son would go and buy them a PlayStation just so he could keep gaming with them. With the person that he's living with now, it was when he had a PS3, I think. The PS3 broke, and my son got a new game that was supposed to be like this huge big deal, and he wanted to play with Hector, and Hector couldn't play anything because his PS3 broke, plus he didn't have the game. My son went out and bought him a brand new PS3 and bought him the game so that they could play together. I'm like, what did Mom get for Christmas that year? A plastic travel cup.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? It had M&Ms on it, though, so the thought behind it was he knew that I loved M&Ms. So it was an emotional gift, not really, you know what I mean? Which was fine.
Right.
But it was just funny that his friends get a PS3 and I get a cup. Like, thanks. But then a couple of years ago, he got me it was either Christmas or my birthday. See, Christmas and my birthday are so close together that I get gifts mixed up. But he got me a carved fluorite bear pendant because it was a bear and it was purple and green. And he knows I love those colors together. So,
yeah.
He's very sweet when he wants to be. And I love my bear. As a matter of fact, I have it on my table here somewhere.
Yeah. I've got a little purple and it's just purple and clear fluorite Zuni bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he's just a regular cabochon. Then I've got a little about the same size fully carved one that's a turquoise.
Nice.
Zuni.
Boo.
Boo.
Even though my camera is crap, I'm going to show you my bear. If I can get it organized now. See him?
Oh, yeah. That's a lot nicer than mine. Yours actually looks like a bear.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's on a really long. I don't even have to undo the clasp to put it on. Boom, my bear. Matter of fact, now I'm going to wear him. Pretty soon, all of this crap behind me will not be there.
Yay.
Yay. Oh, and look, see? Notice something missing?
No gloves.
No gloves. Whoops, wrong thing.
Yeah. I don't want to be big.
No.
Unless you want to see my gift Mr. Jim gave me for modding for him.
Oh, yeah. What'd he give you?
Make me big. I'll turn my camera on.
Okay. Boom. There you are. Oh, my God. That's gorgeous. Labradorite.
Look at that flash.
That is beautiful.
Labradorite, size 10.
Mr. Jim gives good gifts.
And then at the same auction, Tina got this for me.
Oh, sweet.
Mushroom carved in a jade. Oh, it's upside down, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was upside down.
And
that's
then,
nice.
And then Carol Ann got me this little
I know.
Red jasper mushroom.
Nice.
And
but wait, there's more.
And my favorite piece, a Uperlite bat. Check out that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Check out that flash in it.
Yep.
One of these days I'm going to get this camera figured out.
I know. StreamYard is backwards. That's awesome.
Yeah. I like it. Oh. Yeah, that ring though, I opened up the package and I thought, he said he's going to have me something special in there for helping him out. And I got, okay, well, there's my mushrooms and there's my bat. And he said, what's this? And I opened it up. Size 10 sterling silver. Yeah.
Very sweet. And I love his coffin cabochons.
Yeah.
Liam.
I want to get him to carve me a probably about a 2-inch by 1/2-inch thick coffin cab out of this Uperlite to go in my I've got a little coffin box with a gargoyle on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
That
would be cool.
To put the coffin into.
That would be very cool. Nope, Liam's at the doctor's. Hey,
Yeah,
Liam, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, Mr. Jim gives good gifts.
yeah, he does.
He
Yeah,
really does.
for my birthday last year, he sent me this huge labradorite palm stone.
Mm. I got really awesome birthday presents from Jerry Wolf Toy.
Yeah,
He sent me some Lady Death stuff.
cool.
I collect Lady Death, and
Yeah,
I can't afford it. I started collecting Lady Death trading cards, collector cards,
yeah,
when in '94 with my best friend, and I and then financial troubles happened, and I couldn't afford to spend money on them anymore. And now all the stuff is so expensive. All the collectible stuff for her is usually more than I can afford, even at an auction. But he sent me a comic. I believe it's the gold cover. It's really collectible, and he sent me all kinds of Lady Deaths. He sent me a shirt and all kinds of stuff, and I was just like, oh my god.
cool.
Yeah. I, I was almost afraid over the weekend to say that I liked something, because every time I said, "Oh my god, I love that," somebody gifted it to me, and I'm like, "Wait, what?" That's not why I said I liked it. I was not, now I don't want people to think that I was trying to manipulate people into buying me things, because I really wasn't.
Yeah,
I like to show my appreciation for items being shown, even though I can't afford to buy it.
yeah,
And but every time I said, "Oh my god, I love that," boom, somebody's like, "Oh, bill me and send it to Kodi," and I'm like, "What?" I'm
really.
like, wow, I was just so overwhelmed by everybody's
Yeah,
generosity.
yeah.
I
By
mean,
the time you get your packages from Mr. Jim, there's no telling what's going to be in there.
I know.
He's just that kind of guy.
And I was just so overwhelmed by everybody. And I mean, it makes, yeah, I know it's weird to say, but it makes me feel like people really care, because in actual life, my son walked away from me almost completely, almost
Mm,
not completely. He's still, got a little bit of tie to me, which is nice.
yeah,
Issa, every once in a while she pops up in my life again. And, I mean, but then I messaged her to tell her to say happy birthday to my godson and tell him I love him. And she never even replied to my text.
oh,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
So that's just a weird relationship there. And so I have that help. My neighbors help me out. But other than that, I'm by myself. The only one that I truly have that's a constant is my mom, you
Yeah,
know, and so when people send me stuff or help me out, I appreciate it so much. So this weekend was just, plus I got somebody, my god, trust me when I say I love this person. They sent me gabapentin,
oh, okay,
because they don't take it anymore, and they didn't want to just throw it out. They had a feeling there was somebody that was going to be able to use it.
yeah,
And even though it's kind of not legal to send these through the mail,
right.
and whatnot, I'm so grateful for that person, because I have at least 2 months worth of gabapentin here.
That's cool.
So I'm going to have 2 months of not being in, extreme pain.
Yeah,
Hi, Ted. And I don't have to wear the gloves.
yeah. Back,
Because I've had to wear gloves for the past 4 months, and I'm really tired of wearing gloves, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Back,
And
back last year, January through February, when I was in rehab for physical therapy and in the hospital for a total of 2 months altogether. One of my good friends had a lot of extra long-acting insulin that she didn't
mhm.
need anymore. And when I finally got to move into my apartment in March of last year, uh, I had 4 boxes of insulin waiting for me.
Wow, that's nice. That saves you a lot of money,
Yeah,
right?
that was like 20 pins. Yeah,
Wow.
saved a ton of load money.
I mean, I know it's illegal to share medication or give somebody else medication, but the quote unquote law is
Yeah,
not the one going through all the pain, or
mm,
not having the money to be able to get your medication. So the people that are on the medication legitimately that need it, they will take it wherever they can get it. And it between everybody being so sweet to me and sending me things and the lack of pain, my weekend was euphoric. I have not been that up emotionally since John died 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and Friday I was having a really hard time. I talked about that on my Saturday show. And then Lisa and Victoria brought me up. And then that up just went up even higher over the weekend.
Yeah.
So. Hey, Donna. You're late, woman.
Hi, Donna.
And Donna was very generous to me this weekend. I mean, everybody that reached out and not just with gifts, but caring and showing concern and everything. It just makes me feel so good that people give a damn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you're dealing with depression, knowing that people care keeps you at a sane level.
Yeah.
That's
what keeps me going, especially, well, it's been 6 years ago now. I reconnected with all my high school friends, which, up until then, I just really had no interaction with any of them since high school. And 2015, they reached out to me, and one of my best friends there, Rhonda, her name's Rhonda also, different Rhonda, twisted my arm through the phone and says, "You will come to the reunion." I said, "Okay." And of course, my wife at the time didn't want to go, but yet when I got home from the reunion, she says, "Well, you didn't take me."
Donna, what have you missed? Everything, baby.
Yeah.
You missed it all. You missed me being all mushy and gushy and, saying thank you to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I can't even express my feelings. The words that I know, and I know a lot of words, are just not up to par. They're not covering it. So just,
yeah.
Oh, I love you too, Donna. So yeah, and Victoria's sending me chocolate. So because I mentioned that it was the best Halloween that I've ever had, and I don't even have any candy. And then I can see, I know Victoria's going, "Oh, this is coming your way," and it's an 18-count box of Kit Kats, Hershey bars, and Reese's peanut butter cups.
That'll work.
And I'm like, oh my God. Well, I'm not diabetic, but I will be if I eat all of that.
Yeah.
So I will make it last though, because I don't gorge on chocolate anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. I recently the store had Kit Kats and Reese's and all those others on sale. Buy 5 for 88 cents each and get 5 free. So I got me 5 Kit Kats and 5 Reese's cups. And I open up the package and I'll eat half of a Reese's cup at a time, and then 1 stick of Kit Kat at a time, just once a day.
Yeah.
And
but you're diabetic, so you have to be really careful.
Yeah, but I mean, my sugars are so under control that I need a little bit to keep me level. So,
Donna, I was there for that. That was funny. Donna wanted to bid on Victoria's leftover Halloween candy, and Victoria is hoarding her Butterfinger. She wouldn't sell Donna a Butterfinger.
Oh, yeah. I love Butterfingers, but I won't even go near them anymore.
See, like an 18 count would probably, actually, in all honesty, last me about a month and a half.
Yeah.
So maybe. But it will last for quite some time. So I'll have something to snack on, and and I haven't actually had chocolate in about 3 months. So
yeah,
I'm gonna be like, I might kind of gorge a little bit in the beginning, and then I'll taper off and make it last.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Usually what I do is buy one of those big dark chocolate bars, and I just cut off a little tiny square at a time.
Yeah. Donna, I haven't eaten yet today. But at like 2:00 this morning, I was really hungry because I hadn't eaten dinner. I had eaten something like at, I don't know, like 10 o'clock in the morning when well, no, it was between 9 and 10. When I put the dog out, I had one of the cheeseburgers, and then I hadn't eaten anything at night. So at 2 o'clock, my stomach was like, hello, did you forget something?
Yeah.
So I went out and I made a cheeseburger and some of those little chicken bites, and that's what I had. I ate that. So I haven't eaten yet today. I'm not hungry yet. And I'm probably gonna have the chicken sandwiches or something. They're so good, Donna. You got to try that chicken. It's really good.
What kind of chicken is it?
It's Members Mark from Sam's Club.
Oh yeah.
And because I don't shop at Sam's Club. I guess my mom still has her membership there because my daughter uses it. So I told my mom, I said, this chicken is so good. And she goes, oh, I think Desiree's gotten some of those chicken bites for the kids. And I'm like, they are so good. Because I had asked Donna, if their chicken was any good, because Donna recommended their cheeseburgers, which are awesome.
Yeah.
For a pre-made burger that you microwave, usually they have that chemical taste to them.
Yeah.
These do not.
No, Sam's has pretty good stuff.
Yep. So when I asked Donna, she goes, well, you're going to be the guinea pig because I've never had their chicken. So guinea pig experiment successful. Their chicken is excellent. You're welcome. I will. Thanks for the review. You're welcome. So, but I did try not to focus on any junk food, because when someone else is kind enough to get me groceries, I usually try and get things just for meals.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste someone's money, spend someone's money on junk, So I will admit I went into Sam's Club section of ice cream and I looked, but it's a good thing I didn't get any, because I didn't have it. I don't have any room in my freezer.
Yeah.
It literally is packed, and then nothing else will fit in there. So it's a good thing. Members Mark, Bobby, it's Members Mark cheeseburgers from Sam's Clubs. I know, Donna, I know. But I wanted to focus on just meals,
Yeah, pretty much any of the foods I've ever gotten from Sam's Club have all been excellent quality.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah. Especially like their they used to have some salmon strips. Pull out and bake them.
Yeah, see, I can't get anything that I need to use my oven for, because trying to use the oven, I'd have to do it from the side, and being in the wheelchair makes everything awkward.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to burn myself because I have enough problems, so I don't use my oven. So I have to get things that I can either cook in a saucepan, well, not a saucepan, that I can cook in a skillet or a frying pan, or I or I have to get something that's microwavable.
Yeah. Well, during the summertime, I pretty much don't use my oven at all just because of the heat. But now that winter's here, I'll start baking some things again.
Yeah, Donna, the cheeseburgers, it said you can thaw them out in the fridge overnight. But it only takes like 1 minute and 45 seconds to microwave one of those cheeseburgers. So
yeah,
I'm not that impatient that I have to do that. Now it says to keep the chicken frozen. So yeah. But they are really good, and they're very convenient, and they're making things. Yep, the scampi you can do. Well, you can do the scampi in the microwave or in a skillet, but they recommend the skillet, and I'm going to use a skillet.
Yeah, because the microwave will make some stuff too tough.
And shrimp is something I don't like to microwave. So I'm going to cook that in the skillet. I have a high-sided skillet that I'm going to use for that. I am not cooking all 2 pounds of it at once, though, because, oh my God, even I can't eat 2 pounds of scampi.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need more freezer space. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. I could also take them out of the boxes, and I'd probably have more, but the heating instructions that are on the packages, I can't read it. It's too tiny. So I might cut the cooking instructions off the box and put just the separate little things in there. It's just keeping it neat and organized right now, and So my mom picked me up some Fanta, because they're only $1, and she got me. She grabbed me some more potato chips. I have a crap ton of potato chips now, and she got me more paper plates and more. I asked her to get me the plastic forks, so she ended up getting the assortment of plastic utensils.
Yeah.
So she got the ones. She's like, you need spoons, right? I'm like, no, I need forks. And I said, just the pack of forks, and all the packages look the same. So she probably just grabbed one. At least she didn't bring me a package of knives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, taking things out of the boxes would save freezer space. Definitely would. But they do all fit in there, and I have nothing else going in there right now, so I'm okay. I might see at some point when my mom goes to the store again if she'll get me a thing of Haagen-Dazs. Which I mean, Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's and stuff is expensive, but I can't do a bowl and back and forth and, all that with scooping ice cream out of a half gallon or whatever. So I just get the small ones because I basically eat one of those small ones at once. But yeah. It's weird. I told my mom, she's like, are you sure you don't need anything else? And she's like, you want some of the freezer foods and stuff? I'm like, I can't fit anything in the freezer, Mom. And she goes, what do you mean? And she came over and I opened my freezer and she's like, oh my God. I'm like, Mom, do you think I have enough food? And she's like, yeah, I guess you're good for a while. I'm like, yeah. And those chicken sandwiches, you can take the chicken out because you heat up the chicken separate from the bun.
Yeah.
And so I mean, you can take the chicken out and use it as part of a regular meal. Like you can make vegetables and mashed potatoes or something and have the chicken with that. So I have a bit of variety to do, that I can do. Oh yeah, the delivery was amazing. The person that delivered the food here was absolutely amazing. They she showed up and immediately said, where do you want me to put the things? I'll bring them in the house for you. And so I, let her in because I don't have, without Miha here, I can let people in the house without a problem. And so she brought everything in for me and put it where I could reach it. She goes, can you reach it if I put it on the stove? And I'm like, yes. And she put the other one on the chair. I mean, she's very considerate of the fact that I was in a wheelchair. And she thanks TG. Me too. I love my people. My tribe rocks. And yep. Donna put the note on it to please be patient and let me get to the door because I'm in a wheelchair. But this girl kind of went above and beyond, because they don't have to bring it in your house.
Right.
And but she brought it in. She made sure. She's like, you sure you can reach everything? And I'm like, yep, I got it. And she's like, all right. And then when she was leaving, I called over to my neighbor Donnie to see if he could grab my mail. And she goes, oh, don't worry about it. I'll grab it. And she went over to my mailbox, got my mail, and brought it up to me. So, I mean, damn, very sweet. Very, very sweet person that delivered my groceries for me. Yeah, it definitely was Bonnie. So, like I said, it's been an amazing weekend. Yeah, I know. It was really nice. And she was here. The delivery time was between 10 and 12, and she was here at exactly 10 o'clock. I was actually on Kevin's live when she showed up. I was like, oh, shit. I did not get her name, Donna. I didn't. I wish I had. I do know she's 42. we talked. But yeah, she was just amazing. So well, you know me. I talk, so we were gabbing a little bit, And she was saying, because I mentioned that, I was going to have my neighbor grab my mail, and I don't think she heard me say what I was going to ask him to do. But I told her, I said, my neighbors are very sweet and they help me out. And she was like, it was really nice to have neighbors that you're close to or, that will help you out. And she loves being in communities like that where everybody just helps everybody. So she was very nice. Bonnie, right? Now, see, my mom does the grocery shopping at her house, and she has to fight tooth and nail to have the grandkids help her bring things in unless she pays them. And then they'll bring everything in, and then they just drop it on the counters and leave it there. They don't help her put anything away. I'm like, mm-hmm. Yeah, TG, she was very disability friendly. I think she has somebody in her family that needs help with things, so she understands. You know, she can associate with that. So, but she was very nice. I had another delivery driver, and I think she was the one time I ordered and got something delivered from Walmart. The delivery driver was a woman that she went and got my mail for me too, as a matter of fact. But I couldn't. I had Miha at the time. I couldn't let her in the house because Miha's very friendly, but she intimidates people, and I didn't want to go through that. And I didn't want to hold on to the dog, you know. And I only had like 5 bags, so I was able to maneuver with those. But she was very sweet, you know, because I was like, now I just have to see if my neighbor's out here, see if he can grab my mail. And she goes, oh, no problem, I got it. And she went down and got my mail for me too. So, yeah, Bonnie. Well, my grandkids are 14 and 16, so you would think they could get off their ass and help their 89-year-old great grandmother put groceries away, you know, but no. And my granddaughter doesn't even really help bring them in. My grandmother pays my grandson to do it. He should not have to get paid for helping his grandmother, but that's how my mother's house rolls. She let them run rough and they're spoiled. And so it doesn't occur to them to help her. I'm like, so, but yeah, it was just an amazing weekend all the way around. And especially considering why I needed my mail. The gabapentin had been sitting in my mailbox for 3 days, and I hadn't been able to catch my neighbors outside to ask one of them to grab it for me. So I was really glad that I got that mail in. I've gotten really lucky. I've never had anything stolen, any mail or packages or anything stolen. But yeah, the only thing that went wrong is, and that was Monday? No, Tuesday. I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. I had Monday because the package from Donna showed up with the Ziploc bags in it. And my son's delivery showed up. This fucktwad put the damn packages on the wrong side of the door.
Mm-hmm.
So if I opened the door, I couldn't reach them. They were on, you know, the other side of the door. Not only that, but they were in front of the wrong side of the door. So I couldn't even open the door more than 4 inches. You should have seen me trying to manipulate with my grabber to try and grab these things and pull them around the door so that I could reach them. I almost fell out of the wheelchair. And I'm sure that watching it was very comical if anybody had been peeking out their windows. But I did finally manage it. And I got both packages inside. But, I mean, how stupid can you be? I mean, even for normal people, if they open the door, they're going to hit their packages. You know what I mean? You put them on the sides of the door that opens.
Yeah.
I'm like, moron. So. Huh. Bonnie, teenagers are weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're in their own little world.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was so glad that my son was always considerate of others when we were out. He was, you know, once he reached a certain age and he had more control over himself, he was always helpful, always polite to people. It was yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and, you know, very respectful to people and helpful to everyone but me. Yeah, no, that's, I mean, my son was like that too. Oh, that's sweet, Bobby. See, now my son has seen older people that are struggling. There was one lady that had one of the 40 counts of water, and she was having a hard time getting it out of the cart. and into the car, and he just walked over, picked it up, and put it in her car for her. I mean, like it weighed a feather, like he didn't even notice picking it up. And he asked her, he's like, do you have somebody at your house that will be able to bring this in? And she's like, oh yeah, my husband will bring it in for me, and he's like, okay. She goes, why? You gonna follow me home? And he's like, well, my mom probably would do that for you if you need the help, and I would have. And there was another lady that this woman had to have been close to 90 years old, and she's trying to lift a 50-pound bag of dog food out of the cart. My son ran over to her. He got out of the car. He's like, Mom, do you see that lady? And I looked, I'm like, oh my God. He goes, I'll be right back. I'm like, okay. And he got out of the car, walked over and picked the bag of dog food up and put it in her car. He asked her if she had someone that could do it too. And she's like, oh yeah, my grandson's at home. He can lift it. And he's like, okay. I'm like, damn. So yeah, my son is like that too. Yeah, Bonnie. It's like they're two different people. I used to ask my kids if they walk through an asshole zone coming into the house, like that changes them into little shitheads. So, but then they just turned around, and every time they walked in the door, they were like, Mom, we walked through the zone to get home. I'm like, oh, crap. I don't know where they get this kind of sense of humor. But as long as they behave out in public, I'm good, because out in the world is where they can go to jail. So as long as they behave out there, I'm fine. Oh, nice, Donna. Yeah. My cousin works for a railroad. My uncle was one of the top people in a railroad company or something, whatever. But he was one of the higher ups. And my oldest cousin, he got involved with all of that. Started at the bottom. He refused to do the nepotism thing. He started at the bottom with the company and worked his way up. And I don't know exactly what he does now, but I know he's in a really good position. I agree, Bobby. You can be yourself and be respectful, Yeah. Well, my son considers himself an atheist, but he has literally given people his clothes. I'll tell you though, when those two little assholes that lived here, when they started getting physically violent, and she started screaming for my son to come save her, and he's yelling at her at the top of his lungs and blah, 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 and hitting her, my son would open that door and there would be dead silence. Because that guy knew that my son would literally throw him through the window and out of the house if he had to. So I'm so glad they are gone. Yeah. See, the thing with my son living here, he didn't want to be in this house because he considers this to be his dad's house. And with John having died, he didn't want to be here without him being here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he resented having to be in the house. He resented having to be here with me, which made me feel bad. And he doesn't have the personality type to be a caretaker. There are some people that love taking care of other people, or even if they don't love it or expect to have to do it, they embrace it and do the best they can. My son was not one of those people. So resentments build up, and with my son, when he starts resenting something, he starts lashing out, and it's like he's angry all the time because he doesn't want to be in that situation. So, and I understand that. It's just I really needed his help. I still need his help because I need him to get that crap out of my house. But and he didn't take care of the house. I mean, I was in my room all the time. The only time I went into the other part of the room was to go around to get in the bathroom. Because I can't go straight through the connecting door with the wheelchair. There's stuff in the way. So I have to go around through the living room and the kitchen and into the little room and then, whatever. But the attitude that was rolling off that child every time I went through the room was amazing. I was like, oh. So we didn't really speak. If I spoke to him, he grunted at me. Yeah. So he was just angry at the world, and it was getting taken out on me. And the energy in the house is a lot better now, put it that way. But he was responsible for the kitchen and the living room because he was living in the living room. So it was basically his bedroom. And he was the one that was doing all the cooking in the kitchen. So it was a mess. It was a horrible mess. We still have one small section to clean up in the kitchen. But he'd be 2 feet away or a foot away from the trash can and just kind of lob something towards it. It would miss and he'd leave it on the floor, and that piles up and it looks bad and it's horrible. And yeah, so kitchen looks a lot better now. And the living room, even with all his stuff piled up like in the middle of it in my way, still looks a lot better than it did.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't like the place he's living, he doesn't respect it, then he doesn't take care of it. It's a weird mental process in his head. I don't know, but it is what it is. So I'm glad everything's cleaned up now, though. I might be a slob, but I'm not that much of a slob anymore, And with the wheelchair, I have to keep things up off the floor because if I roll over something, I get stuck. It's stuff will get wrapped around the wheels or, hell, the other day there was a piece of dog food on the floor that I had dropped and hadn't realized it. And I went to roll and it made my wheel stick and I couldn't go I had to back up and go around it. I'm like, so I had to make sure the floors are clean and that I have pathways to get through, so
right.
We made sure the pile of stuff was not in my way. My mom hadn't thought about it though, so she had things that were going to be in my way. I'm like, Mom, we need to move this. She goes, why? Because she could, you could walk around it perfectly fine, but I couldn't get through it with the wheelchair. And I was like, because I can't get the wheelchair through there, and I have to get from one side to the other. She goes, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And I'm like, So I'm really the first person my mom's ever had to deal with being in a wheelchair. So you don't think about things. It's kind of like when you child-proof your house, you're supposed to go around your house on your hands and knees.
Right.
Same thing if you're getting a puppy because they chew on everything.
Yeah.
And so people don't realize that, my mom's like, well, we have to put this away and we have to put this away. I'm like, where are you going to put it? And she's pointing to the cabinets that I can't reach. And I'm like, hi, Angel.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, how am I going to reach that, Mom? She goes,
you have to do opposite from a kid, put it where it can be reached.
Right. I'm like, so, the kitchen looks a little cluttered because things that I need that I use when I cook or, like the Ziploc bags and stuff, I could put one of the boxes up because I only need one box at a time. But like my trash bags are the boxes on the counter, And it doesn't look pretty, but it's accessible because right. I don't have a lot of, I don't, even if I put stuff, if the cabinets under the sink, if they weren't all cluttered up with crap that we haven't gone through yet, I still had to bend down out of the wheelchair to get it. And that can be iffy at times,
Yeah, I can reach the bottom shelf of the upper cabinets, but anything above that is like,
yep,
I have to use my reacher stick or something.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you have to be careful with that because it's not like you can put your glasses up there and use the grabber to get them.
Yeah.
Because Donna, it says your device is not connected and it won't let me bring you on. It says you need to connect your mic or cam before you can add them to the stream.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your camera on, but it has to be connected.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hi, Donna.
I tried. What's happening?
Not a whole lot.
Nope.
We're just talking about food and kids?
Yeah, pretty much.
Food and kids.
Angel said if I got on my hands and knees, I wouldn't be able to get up. Yeah, me either. But you can do it without. I can't. you can do it without getting on your hands and knees. You just have to be observant and think, well, can a baby or whatever the case may be, can whatever living being, whether it's a person or an animal, can they get to that? Can they damage it? Can they hurt themselves?
Yeah.
And you don't have to literally get on your hands and knees, but look at everything that would be from like the waist up or the waist down,
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I think with my older two, I've had MS since I was 28 and I'm 55 now. So it's my older two kids. It's just proof they were all raised by me that, they're all end up different. You know what I mean? Like my first two kids were with my previous. So genetics does play a role in it. And my youngest is just like his dad. Like Mike is so easygoing and would help anybody. And, but my older two kids, I wasn't in a wheelchair and I wasn't at my worst with my MS.
Mm-hmm.
And I really never spoke up when I was having problems.
Yeah.
I just kind of trucked through it and you do what you got to do. And then I dealt with my cancer since I was 28. My kids, my older two, just were used to, oh, mom's all right. Mom, so they didn't pay attention as much.
Right.
I think, I don't know, maybe at 35, I got so bad with my MS. I was in a wheelchair and a walker for several years, and for years crawled around the house. So that's when my youngest was really around. So maybe he's the much more tenderhearted, would help anybody with anything because he's seen what life's like,
Right.
And now I'm at a point that I'm extremely proactive with my MS, and I don't have to use a wheelchair and I don't have to use a walker. And I only use a cane if I'm like on unstable ground or unfamiliar territory. And if I'm having a bad MS day, but for the most part, knock on 4 million pieces of wood around here, I'm so much better. I'm a really high functioning MSer. So,
well, I think a lot of it too with my younger two is that right around the time that, because I got injured at work, or I got injured. I was working at the time, but we had gone to California to bring John's mom back to South Carolina, and we drove back, and she had a Newfoundland dog and a Scottish Terrier. They were both geriatric dogs. They were really old, so the Newfoundland could not jump in and out of the Dodge Durango. So John and I had to lift her out. And one of the times we went to lift her out of the truck, she decided to jump. So we had 120 pounds of dog jump up in the air, then we had to catch her, and my back went, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
When I was 19, my back started hurting me, and they could never figure out what it was. They were like, your x-rays are clear, you're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine, there's a problem. When I was 19 is when my degenerative disc disease started, but they never caught it. They never did an MRI, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I was working at Walmart doing loss prevention at the time when we had to take this trip, and the weight of the dog coming down on us was just, my back was like, nope, we are done. Yeah. And I couldn't function really too well after that. If I walked for more than 20 minutes, my lower back would lock up and I'd fall, and so I had to stop working, and without working, I had no insurance, so I couldn't get the MRI. Without proof that there was something, disability was denying me, but I couldn't do anything around the house. And I couldn't go places and sit on a bench somewhere because that hurt. It would kill my tailbone.
Yeah.
And so then when I finally did get my disability, I was able to go to pain management, and they put me on the medications. Of course, I wasn't used to them. And so they made me really sleepy and loopy. And my daughter was 13 at the time, my younger daughter. And so she was helping me. She was extremely responsible at the age of 13. So she was helping to get her brother up and get him, tell him to go take his shower, get ready for school, make sure that he took his medication, which I should have been in charge of my son's medication, but it was in the kitchen. So my daughter would just make sure he took his pill for the morning,
Yeah.
And social services turned around and told me that I was, turned my daughter into a slave, and that I was the parent. And,
oh God, please.
That the kids shouldn't be doing chores. And then when I go into the foster care facility, there's a chore list on the wall, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Mine have always done chores. You know what I mean? It's like as soon as they were able to do things and learn how to, be a help around the house, whether I was doing bad or not, I still would have made them do things.
Well, I mean, the whole point of chores is to teach them responsibility.
Well, my whole goal in parenting, and I know I have like my sister-in-law feels totally the opposite. She's like, kids should be kids and they don't need chores, and they have the rest of their life to have chores. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to raise independent young people that can survive. And so far, knock on wood, they're surviving, So my youngest is 19. My daughter's 26. Mine are all 5 years apart. So 30, 26. My oldest is getting ready to turn. So they're all 5 years apart. And knock on wood, nobody's come home yet.
Well, I mean, my son is 27, and my oldest daughter is going to be 33 in March, and my middle daughter is 28, who hasn't acknowledged me as her mother in years, and I don't know what she's doing. She's in North Carolina somewhere. I have no idea what she's doing. I know she got married again, and that's about all I know. And I'm like, okay. So I hope whatever she's doing it well. She's pretty smart. Both of my girls. Well, all of my kids are very smart. My son wasn't book smart, though.
My youngest is not book smart. He's, like I said, I think he'll do more of what I do entrepreneurial wise.
Yeah.
He started community college right out of graduating, and really it's just not his thing. He's just, he's so tenderhearted and more social. I mean, he just doesn't know a stranger. He really is embracing all of our eBay stuff, and dear God, if he can make $60,000 a year doing eBay, then fine.
Right.
And work part-time at the grocery store.
My son is not sociable outside of gaming. He's would rather just stay at home and game. But him and Hector and Hector's wife Dorothea, they do go out. They'll go to the movies or something when one of their types of movies comes to theaters. They'll go to the movies and things like that. But he's never been the kind that would hang out with. He had like one friend in school that he went to their house a few times, and then it just stopped. He was still friends with the person, but he didn't want to go anywhere anymore. So.
Oh, goodness. Bonnie, you have 37, 35, 32, 31, 29, 17. Whew, and 16.
Bonnie, you need a new hobby. Take up needlepoint or something. Wow.
No, I mean.
But my son also, he's never been arrested. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. If all he wants to do is game, I'm good with that. He's he's staying out of trouble. My oldest daughter she's got a sociopathic issue. Not the psycho killer kind of sociopath, but just the kind of person
that's
she can't empathize with emotion.
My daughter's a little bit like that. Like she's 26, and I don't know. She's got a huge heart, but she is so tough exterior to get to that huge heart.
Well, my oldest daughter does not have a huge heart. She wouldn't help anybody, even if they were bleeding in front of her. She's extremely brilliant book-wise. Like she got almost straight A's through high school, and she was on the dean's list when she got her teaching degree. But there were no openings here, and the job she got was driving her nuts. So she's back in school now, studying to be a vet tech, and she's doing really well. She did. Like 3 years ago, all of a sudden, she started being. She was able to empathize with animals, and so then she started wanting to help animals. So she decided that in order to better herself and her life for her kids and all that, she would go back to school and do vet tech. The problem is that she's completely ignoring the children while she's doing this. So. They just at this point don't even care if she, she's like, hey, do you guys want to go get something to eat? And they're like, nah, we're good. They don't even want to do anything with her anymore because she ignores them all the time. So, but
Bonnie, are they boys or girls?
People in my oldest daughter's life are like game pieces on the board. So if one of the people stops being useful to her, she just stops talking to them. She has no use for them anymore. She actually literally told me that. She goes, well, they're not benefiting my life in any way anymore, so I don't need to be friends with them. I'm like, that's not really how friendship works, She can fake emotion really well, but I don't think she really feels it. And I was just glad when she started feeling something for animals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
At least, there's some empathy there.
yeah.
Bonnie, I would have had one more too as well. Mine would have been 34. My first child passed too.
I'm sorry. My second,
And I
mine,
was told that I couldn't have kids. I lost every other child. So I lost my first, then I had my son, then I lost my next, then I had my daughter, then I lost my next, and then I had my son. But
yeah, my second pregnancy didn't go to full term.
3 boys and 3 girls. Now, which would you? I know I love all my children to death, but you could give me 5 boys to 1 girl any day. My 1 girl, when they told me my last was a boy, I remember it was a high risk pregnancy. So I had to have all these targeted ultrasounds and special stuff because I was older as well, because it's my child with my current husband. And when they typed on the screen on this big 3D ultrasound thing, it said, "I look like a boy." I was like, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Scarlett, girls are great, but 1 princess in the house is enough for me.
Yeah. See, that's hard. I mean, I had a hard time with the miscarriage, and I was only 12 weeks pregnant. So
Lost at 7.5 months old or during pregnancy, Bonnie?
my oldest
Mine was stillborn. My first was stillborn at 8 months old. I was 8 months pregnant.
Yeah, my mom went through that too, and I
Horrible.
didn't know that until I didn't know it until I was 18 that my mom went through that, and she went through it twice. Once with the baby girl.
Horrible experience. And I was so young, I was only 21 years old, and
Bonnie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry too, Bonnie. It's rough.
My mom went through it once with a baby girl and once with twin boys, stillbirths. And I didn't know this until I was 18 when I got pregnant. She went through this whole thing and I was like, "What?" I hadn't even known my mom had been married before my dad. And my dad was married before my mom, and I'm like, "What the hell? Why am I only learning this now?" But that psychologically, that's why my mom always tried to keep me so close. Like when I was outside playing, I couldn't go above the top of the street because it was a hill, so she wouldn't be able to see me if I went over the hill. When I was playing outside up to a certain age, I always had to be in her sight. Like she would have to be able to look out the window and see me. And growing up, I was like, why are the apron strings strangling me so bad? All my friends were able to ride their bikes wherever they wanted. I couldn't go off my street. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
yeah, I think that's why, my 2 younger think that my oldest is my favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I don't know. I was a single mom. He was 7, I was a single mom from the time he was 2 to 7. Yeah. And it was just he and I for so long. And I had lost my child before him. So we were pretty daggone tight. And gosh, I watched that child sleep like no mother ever could watch a child sleep, through every moment. And then my daughter came along, and, having them 5 years apart was really good for me because you get special time with each of them at different stages of their life,
Yeah.
Well,
it was like a light bulb went off when my mom told me that, because I mean, even at 18, I was able to self-analyze, and my psychology was pretty good. And it was like, oh, that's why. You know what I mean? That was my first thought when she told me that. I'm like, that explains so much.
Yeah.
And I stopped. The resentment that I had been holding on to just went away. Because I could never do things the other kids. Like if I was going to go to someone's house, she had to know the phone number, the address. She had to go talk to their parents. And I'm just like, you're embarrassing the crap out of me right now. And it built a lot of resentments, and I rebelled against it. I used to lie to her a lot and tell her I was going one place when I was actually going somewhere else because I knew she wouldn't let me go where I wanted.
Yeah, I'm sure my older 2 has another thing different, and this is why I know genetics play a much deeper role than just how they were all raised in the same house, together. My older two were just smoother,
Yeah.
I'm sure they kept a lot of things from me.
Hi, Larry.
But my youngest, oh my goodness, he could not lie to say, when his biggest fear would be disappointing anyone. So he just could not lie to save his soul. If he tried, it would be so clear as day that he was fibbing.
Well, it was funny because after that, and after, I released all the resentments that I held on to from my childhood.
Hey, Larry.
My mom and I actually became better friends, because I was able to relax. I didn't have that resentment stiffening my spine, and that wall that I had put up went away. And so it was easier for me and my mom to communicate, even though half the time my mother doesn't know what I'm talking with because she does not keep up with the times. She has her little bubble that she lives in, and not much gets into it. So,
yeah,
if there's something that's negative that's happening, she'll ignore it. So if she doesn't acknowledge it, it's not happening. That's how my mom is.
Well, I think I raised them all as though you're going to get the opportunity to do the things you want to do and be where you want to be and have the freedom and flexibility based on your actions. So you're going to either restrict your ability to do things by your behavior, or you're going to have much more freedom. And, they learn that pretty quick.
With my daughter, my middle daughter, my older daughter, my parents had custody of her from the time she was 3 until she was 18. But my middle daughter I had from birth until she was 13, when DSS decided. Well, my middle daughter is the one that called DSS, which also broke my heart. That broke my heart. She did it twice, and then my older daughter did it a third time, and that's when they took the kids away permanently, even though there was no reason to.
Yeah.
But my middle daughter was always very responsible and smart and stuff, but she couldn't lie to save her life. She really couldn't. But I gave her, I think, too much freedom. She was always at her friend's house. They even took her with them when they went to Tennessee on vacation. They went to Dollywood, and I was like, I don't have the money to send her with you, because I was still trying. I think that was the time I was still trying to get my disability, so I had no money coming in. We were living on whatever John could bring in, and it wasn't much. And all our money went to food and gas to get him to work and stuff. So, I just didn't have the money for a vacation. And they were like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll pay her way. We'll give her some spending money, da, da, da. And I'm like, I couldn't deny my child the experience and to have fun. Because the house was kind of, depressing because we couldn't do anything.
I get that. I
let her go, but she was always at her friend's house. Hell, one summer I was like, look, you need to let me take your picture. And she goes, why? I said, because I forget what you look like.
Oh.
She was never home.
Yeah. Never. We've had harder times and better times. We've been through ups and downs between my stuff and now the past year that Mike's been sick. But you're right, Bonnie. I always told all of my kids, the ball's in your court.
Yeah. But Kayla became very materialistic, hanging out with people. Her friends' parents had money, and Kayla became very materialistic and resentful that she couldn't have all the things that her friends had.
Well, thankfully, mine have never been materialistic like that. None of them. Now they can afford to buy this, that, and the other that they want. But never, we just didn't have all that extra frill stuff, and my kids grew up in this charter school that they went to, and working in the area, the company I worked for, we had a charter school, and there were, kids that were millionaires, the parents were millionaires. Yeah. So, when the kid turned 16, they got a brand new, spanking new, whatever, Camaro, whatever, they got brand new gifted to them. And mine were like, okay, you're getting dad's old work truck because he's going to get a new truck, and that's what you're driving. And then when the next kid needed their vehicle, that vehicle got handed down, and they never missed a beat with it. They never, I don't know. I now have them come to me telling me how much they appreciate that I made them pay for certain things or work for certain things, that they realize a lot of their friends are brats. Yeah. And I'm like, well,
Well, my middle daughter, Kayla, she when she was 12, she wanted to be a cheerleader, and I was like, oh no, and because I knew how expensive that was going to be, and we didn't have the money for it. But
Mm-hmm.
I did not discourage her. I was like, and Kayla was a little chunky. She had been losing weight. She was exercising a lot, but she was still a little chunky. But she wanted to be a cheerleader, and the girl had the moves. She could dance. She could do all that. And I was like, if you want to try out for cheerleading, then go for it. So for like 2 months, she was practicing in a room, and we were living in a mobile home, so the whole mobile home's shaking because she's bouncing up and down doing cheers. But she did tryouts, and she made the team. She made the squad. And I was really, really proud of her, but it was going to cost $350.
Well, I mean, our schools even had like what are they called? What's the word? Like positions where donated kind of, it's not donated, but sponsorships. Our school had sponsorships for kids that were in that kind of situation. And
yeah, our school didn't have that, but this was when I was in my AOL chat room.
I agree, by the way. If they work for what they have, they appreciate it more. That's for sure.
Yeah. Everybody in the chat room, we all knew about, I mean, we've been hanging out for like 5 years, so everybody knew everybody's families and their kids' names, and we're all invested in each other's families.
Right.
So when I told everybody she made the squad, they were all excited and happy and saying congratulations and da-da-da. I said, okay, now I just have to figure out what I can sell in my house to try. And I didn't have anything that was worth anything.
Sure.
And they were like, hold on, they're like, private message me, like, give me your address. And between my friends in my AOL chat room, I think John and I were able to come up with like $50. And the people in the AOL chat, my mom contributed $65. And the people in my AOL chat room came up with the other $350 to get her uniform and send her to cheerleading.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. Every sport that my kids ever did, I was like, gosh, this is going to be rough.
The next year, she was captain of the basketball squad. And so again, she had outgrown the uniform. So of course we had to get her a new uniform, and she had to go to cheer camp again. So it was another, I think at that point the price went up to like $400, and everybody again contributed. My mom threw in $50. John and I were able at that point to come up with $100, and my people in my AOL chat room came up with the rest. Now my daughter is insisting that her grandmother paid for all of it, and I didn't even help her when she became a cheerleader. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it takes them a while to grow up and have a better appreciation for their parents. I mean,
yeah,
the relationship my daughter and I had at 18, 19 was tough because she knew everything and she didn't need anybody. Yeah. And she spent 2 years out on her own, and now she's like my best friend again. It's heartbreaking to go through those periods of their lives, but
at the time she said this, her and me and my son were in a chat together, and she was complaining about how I never did anything for her, and da-da-da. My son piped up with, what are you kidding me? Look at what she went through to get you to be able to be cheerleader. And she piped up with, my grandmother paid for all of it. And my son was like, the hell she did. Yeah. And he's like, Mom and her friends in AOL paid for most of that. And that's when Kayla left the chat and blocked both me and my son.
Yeah.
My daughter, Kayla, she made up lies to DSS to get DSS involved. And she told she told those lies so often that she believes that they're true.
Hey, there's a lot of people out there that are living in their own world of BS. It's like, so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that they've made up their own story, and so much so that they believe it.
I mean, this girl could take a lie detector test and pass it without a problem, telling the lies that she created. I mean, she even went to the point to tell them that John was sexually inappropriate with her.
Oh, that's terrible.
And we pulled up at home one day the kids had already been taken to foster care and whatnot. And we pull up and there's a car in our driveway. And I'm like, who the hell is that? And John's like, I don't know. He goes, but that's a cop. And I'm like, how do you know that? And he goes, that's a cop. And we get out and it was a detective that wanted to question John about what Kayla had said. And John looked at him and goes, look, if you want me to come down and take a lie detector test, I will. He's like, I'm voluntarily taking a lie detector test. And they took him down to the station. He was there for 3 hours. They had him hooked up to a lie detector. They had him hooked up to a lie detector for 2 hours. And there was only one question that was questionable, and that's why he was there so long, is because the machine gave some wonky reading on one question. After 552 questions, one question is wonky, and they just jumped on it. And but no charges were ever pressed. DSS never brought it up again. My daughter turned around and goes, "Well, you believe a lie detector test over me, so I don't want anything to do with you." I said, "Got news for you. DSS believe the lie detector test too."
Well, she's obviously got some growing up to do. That's for sure.
I mean, she's 28 now. She hasn't talked to me in a good 7 or 8 years.
As much as it hurts, Oh, yeah, you grew up in Inverness. I think I knew that. Maybe from Victoria's chat. Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from Inverness. I was in Inverness a couple weekends ago.
She calls me her incubator.
Oh, God.
I'm not considered to be her mother at all. She will not acknowledge me as her mother. If she refers to me in any way, she refers to me as the incubator.
That's sad.
So, but as long as she's happy and doing well and not having any major problems, I'm fine. It's her choice if she wants to not acknowledge.
It is. And, she still could turn back around. Who knows?
Yeah, she could.
Bonnie, what did you say? I had 2 in football, baseball, 2 in band, 1 a cheerleader. Yeah, I know. I mean, my oldest played baseball like a maniac. He was in travel ball, the local ball, and travel ball. So baseball was pretty daggone expensive with bats and things, and it was tough. But he'll even tell anybody right now, he's like, I don't even know how my mom did it, but she made sure I had everything I needed and everything I wanted. Yeah. And each time they did a sport with the school, it was like $350 for the uniform and just to even play. And then my daughter did cross country. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, you're like the cheapest. You're like the cheapest. And then my youngest did golf, and it was like, that was still pretty cheap once you had the golf clubs. But baseball was expensive. Oh, yeah. I don't know how I did it. But you know what? There's been times that since I was 28 and got divorced and moved to Florida with my kids, it was tough. And I've always been a hard worker. I've always been entrepreneurial minded. So I've always found a way to make it work. Then, I mean, Mike and I have been married now for 20 years, but we've gone through the ups and downs between my health stuff and his heart attack and now this stuff. That's why I think now, if I can help somebody, I feel very blessed. You know what I mean? I work hard and I'm not making money, but if I can help somebody, I love helping people. I love helping people. Yeah. If I've got something to give, I'm going to give it.
I was like that when I was in Massachusetts. I would help any of my friends that needed it. If they needed a place to stay, they could crash at my place. If they needed clothes for a job interview, I'd help them with that. If I had the money. If they needed food, I'd either give them food out of my house or I'd take them to the grocery store and get them food. I was always putting myself out for my friends, helping everybody. And to be in the position I'm in now is very hard for me.
No, but this is just the season that you're in right now.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to be willing and not stubborn and accept the kindness of people.
I knew better than to argue with you.
Yeah, don't argue with me.
Yeah.
If I say make a damn list, make a damn list.
I did make a damn list. Okay.
And you're like, how big should the list be? And I'm like, just whatever. When I run out of where my brain goes, then the list will carry on to a wish list for another time. I mean, sometimes some months with my business, I'm doing extremely well. And some months that, it's just enough to meet what we've got. Things will be a lot better when my husband can get Medicare.
Right.
Right now, I have to work my ass off because his medical expenses are between $5,000 and $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't make the money that I make with my doctor's side, my consulting company, we would qualify for a lot more. We would qualify for probably free healthcare. But what I can't give up my regular money just so that we can get everything else for free. And then what happens come December next year, then you've got to backtrack. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to get going. So the eBay's going well and my consulting business is going well. But we'll save $6,000 a month when he gets Medicare in December next year. So we have 1 year.
Well, I'm hoping that when I'm able to start making my jewelry and selling it, and even some of the stuff that I have here that people have sent to my house, like Linda, who I love and miss being in my chats. But she's in Sweden, so her time zone is totally different. She had things shipped to my house, and she told me that when I start selling, that I can sell them, and then we'll split the money for them. So I have some jewelry and stuff that she had sent here, and I mean it's not super high quality. Most of it is costume, but some of the costume has natural stones on it. So and they're pretty designs. It's just not. I wouldn't be able to wear it because it's like a base metal. But there was some really pretty things that got sent here. So between that and the things that I make, which hopefully people will like and buy, I'm hoping that I make enough that I will not just be surviving, I'll be able to actually live and
thrive a little better. I missed what did I answer or Kodi answer? Bonnie was just going to ask that. I don't know. Sometimes if you can't tell, I'm a talker.
Yeah. But I'm hoping that I can get to the level where somebody like me who says, "Oh wow, I really love that," that I can go, you know what, bill me and send that to them. You know what I mean?
Yes,
but I can do that. I can do that for other people because getting gifts is very uplifting. It's like, thank you so much. And
some people's love language is receiving gifts. Mine is giving gifts, but I can't always give gifts. Sometimes I can just pray for somebody. Sometimes I can just be a friendly ear. Sometimes I can just be a good friend or a good human to somebody and be kind. About the Medicare, Medicaid. Yeah, we applied when he got disability because this disease is pretty rare. It's called multifocal motor neuropathy, but it's like sister to or brother to ALS without the pain that's associated with ALS. So with having that diagnosis, it took about 4 months to get disability because he gets infusions every 2 weeks. He has to get, a nurse comes to the house and he gets infusion. And anywho, with my income, they would not, and it didn't have to be much income, they wouldn't give us Medicaid. Had he been diagnosed with ALS, he would have gotten Medicare immediately, or if he'd have been a certain type of cancer, he would have gotten it immediately. But because of the diagnosis, you have to wait 2 years to get Medicare. And because of my income, of course, they wouldn't approve us for Medicaid because they look at my income and his income.
Right.
Which stinks, but the infusions are not cheap. They're like $5,000 a month for the infusions. And if he doesn't get the infusions, he can't even feed himself, or go to the bathroom or shower by himself. It's like Superman juice. He gets it and then he deteriorates over 2 weeks and then he has to get it again. But all the testing and everything else is not cheap. Yeah, and that's on top of all the doctor's visits. So that's why I gotta hit a certain threshold in my eBay store. I mean, I could do something else. I do have doctors that I do consulting for. I could take side jobs there, but after 20 some years in healthcare, I actually like eBay. I have my 4 doctors I deal with every month. Can you get help from the infusion company? No, they actually, that is with help. That $5,000 is with help because it's $25,000 a month.
That's crazy.
It's immunoglobulin, so it's a blood product.
Yeah.
It's IVIG. So yeah, that $5,000 is after the help from the insurance company. And of course, we've got to hit the deductible first before we even get that help. So yeah, it kind of stinks. And, his medications regularly, like his heart medicine, his blood pressure, all that stuff, that's all covered because we're paying for Cobra. So
sorry.
When we get rid of that Cobra bill that's $400 a month and goes straight to Medicare, 2 years seemed like a long way away, but now we only have 1 year, and that sounds like so close comparatively. Anywho, it is what it is. I think that fortunately and unfortunately, we make a decent pair between our problems that we've had to deal with, and it's newer to him. Me dealing with MS since 28, you adapt and you learn, just like you guys with disabilities. You adapt, you overcome,
right.
You learn new ways to handle things. And I think it's kind of harder for a man, to the pride, when you go from one day you could feed yourself to you can't feed yourself. And now you've got to adapt and learn new ways to do things and things that make you happy, because he just turned 50. I mean, literally October 15th, he turned 50. So he was a ball player. I mean, could have been a pro ball player. He's just used to being physical.
Yeah.
So it was a big hit to ego, pride, although he's not like an ego kind of macho man kind of guy. He's easygoing, but
yeah, just like 4 months before I ended up the way I am now, I was, crawling in the hood of my truck, working on the engine, doing all kind of repairs. And
that was John's issue too. When his sciatic nerves started acting up and his back started acting up, because John ended up with degenerative disc disease too. It just came later than mine. But his sciatic nerve was acting up so bad that his leg would give out and he would fall. He had to start using the rollator. That's where I got the rollator. It was John's. And then he fell using that. And I was like, okay, you're going to, have to suck it up and get a wheelchair. And his doctor was not helping. He wouldn't give him pain medication. And, he sent him to physical therapy, but it was the wrong kind of physical therapy. He should have been, technically, because of the ligaments in his legs started tightening up. And he should have been going to a sports therapy, like physical therapy for sports.
Right.
And they sent him, and he was in the wheelchair for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And the depression he was feeling, I mean, I used to come over here just so he wasn't by himself. His wife was not helpful at all. But his depression got to the point where he was considering ending his life. And I was like, you do that and I'll kill you myself and bring you back.
Yeah, right. The depression is a real thing. When we were applying for the disability, it wasn't good enough for the first line that he couldn't feed himself, bathe himself. And, he had all these issues and needed so much medical attention in the beginning. They were like, does he have depression? I'm like, well, hell yes, he has depression. What do you But he could have gotten approved probably just for depression if that was the only thing wrong. But I mean, because I see people approved for depression and all, but yeah, Bonnie, when he does get Medicare in December next year, all of his medications will be covered 100% with like a zero copay.
Yeah.
So
John
was time.
John would complain that he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that, because John was a mechanic. Plus, he was a handyman. He was like a jack of all trades. He could fix anything. And when he couldn't walk anymore, he couldn't do any of that. And I mean, even if we had a problem in the house, like the ceiling fan in my living room, the light part of the fixture is dangling from the ceiling, because he was in the process of fixing it when his legs started going out. So, it was sitting there as a reminder of something he couldn't do. His wife was just nagging him all the time and complaining that she had to do everything. And so that made him more depressed. And I was like, you need to find something you can do. So I got him playing video games, so at least it distracted him. And
Bonnie, I know it's it can be harder for mental illness. They were just telling me because he had so many different things, it was going to take so long and so many, like the more issues he had, because he had like 5 things going on, it would have to go to one review after another review and probably end up in a court review.
Right.
Whereas if he had had one illness, I don't mean just mental illness, the actual Medicare or disability person said, gosh, if we were just dealing with one thing, it would be easier. And she used that as an example. So yeah, I know I have friends that have had some sort of mental illness that it's just because he had so many diagnoses hitting. He had 4 autoimmune diseases going at the same time. But thankfully, being in the medical field for so long, I had great doctors that made great documentation, and we got it through in 4 months, which is pretty record breaking.
Well, John's doctors sucked, and you know.
Well, we knew what wording. We tried it 2 years earlier when he was in kidney failure. We went through every 3 denials, and we were just about ready to go see the judge in October, and he was so much better. So he went back to work for 6 months, and we canceled that. We were stupid and canceled the court date, thought he was going to be fine. And then 2 weeks later, he got this disease. Yeah. So,
well, John,
that was a lesson learned. But because I think that he had the previous denied all that information, it didn't take as long this time. But we spent, 2 years with him out of work and kidney failure with dialysis stuff. So it's just been a heck.
Well, with John, I finally told him, I said, look, you either need to switch doctors because this one's not doing anything for you, or you need to tell him point blank, you need to recommend different therapy or something, do something so that I can walk. Because he ended up also getting drop foot. While he was in the wheelchair, he got drop foot. So I told him, I said, or I'm going to come with you to your doctor's appointment and talk to your doctor. And he was like, oh shit, because I won't put up with that. The doctor was not doing his job correctly, and that pisses me off because he's getting paid so much money to not do his job correctly, and that just irritates the crap out of me. So I was like, either you do it or I do it. But if I do it, you're definitely going to have to look for a new doctor because he's not going to let you back in the office.
Yeah.
And he went down there and he told him, he's like, look, I this is what I need from you, and I'd appreciate referrals to a different physical therapy. He did get hooked up finally with a sports physical therapist who told him that, they checked the ligaments in his legs and all of that. And they told him that if he had stayed like that for another month, he would never walk again.
Mm.
And so they gave him exercises to do, and I made sure he did them at home, and they fit him with AFOs for his feet so that he wouldn't fall or catch his foot on things. And
it's so critical to have good doctors, and sometimes you have to go around. I mean, Bonnie, I'm the same. I am so blessed. I've had the same oncologist for 20 years now and the same neurologist, and they know me. They know all my ins and outs, and I just have to call. And actually, they would stop by my house if they needed to, but I've also kind of worked with them for a while. But your dad dealing with all that and taking 12 years of fighting, I think that with the military, honestly, that's going to be 12 years of fighting, because honestly, as rare of diseases that Mike has for being an otherwise healthy looking individual, he started having little weird things at 30. He got out of the military when he was 28 after Desert Storm, and he spent years over in Diego Garcia and burn pits and all that stuff. That a lot of his doctors truly believe that all these weird little autoimmune, very rare situations stem back to Desert Storm. But proving and linking that is a whole nother animal.
Well, I'll tell you, there was nothing that made me prouder and happier that when John came walking out of the house one day, just having to use his cane, but he had his AFOs on and he was walking.
Yeah.
I was just so happy. And he thanked me for about a week straight for pushing him, because I made sure that he did his damn exercise. I said, get off your ass, get out of the wheelchair, do your exercise. He's like, I don't feel like it. I'll do it later. I said, do it now.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, did you see Mike pop on the live the other night?
No.
He popped on and, said hello to everybody, but it makes me feel good, but because I've had to kind of teach him that this is what you got right now. You can either sit in depression about it. This is what you got to deal with, or you can find the happiness in every part of the other things. Like, you know what I mean? Your wife doesn't have to wipe your ass right now. Okay. Can you be happy about that? Because I'm happy about it. So, finding the joy in like you having a good weekend and all, just staying as positive as the world can bring enough negativity without even looking for it.
Yeah.
So the more positive we could be, oh my goodness.
Well, the last 2 years.
Feel like you need to crawl into a pit or be depressed. Lord knows I've found just from being in this community since what, February, March? There are so many people to turn to. And I, for one, am there if anybody needs an ear.
Well,
I love you too, Bobby. There is good in everything. I just always say, like, there's the sun's there, you know what I mean? But sometimes you just have to open the curtains to go see it, you know what I mean? Because sometimes we can just close ourselves off from people. And Lord knows I've done it. But really, I have shortened my spans of how long I allow myself to wallow in any kind of pity or any of that kind of stuff. Like, max, I give myself 30 minutes to get my act together and put myself out of my timeout and reframe my attitude,
Well, the last 2 years of John's life, he stopped drinking completely. He was able to walk, but he was still kind of depressed because he still couldn't work on a car. He had injured his hand. He put his right hand through a plate glass window and cut the tendon, so his thumb didn't work like it should. And he was able to play video games for about half an hour. Then he'd hand me the controller, and it was my turn for like the next 3 hours. But he would help me pointing out where things were, so that helped.
Right.
But he needed to be able to do something, like create something, to have a sense of accomplishment.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, teaching for Mike to learn that there are new things to be excited about. There are new things. So you're not out there playing ball, you know what I mean, like you used to. There are new things and new projects. And thankfully, he's really enjoyed learning some of the eBay stuff and learning how to comp things. And he feels a part of that. There's always something new that we can bring to the table.
Well, John was very artistic. He could draw like you wouldn't believe when I first met him. And he knew how to tattoo. He's the one who taught me how to tattoo. But as years passed, the alcohol caused a problem with his nervous system. His hands would shake. So he didn't trust himself with a tattoo gun, and he couldn't draw anymore. So that was depressing. So we had to find something that was creative that he could do without a problem.
Yeah.
Or without too many problems. So he came up with the idea about 6 months before he died. I had shown him, I follow a girl on Facebook who does pyrography, which is wood burning. And her designs are amazing. And he's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, it's a little like pen-like thing that's hot, and you burn the wood, burn your designs into the wood. He goes, I could do that. I'm like, yeah, you could do that. So he was going to start doing that. And he was going to also make shelves, like corner shelves and things like that, and put those little LED lights underneath, the top shelves, so that the things under the shelves would be lit up and highlighted. And so he started collecting wood. Like everywhere he went, if there was a dresser on the side of the road, he'd grab it so he could break it apart and use the wood.
Right.
And
that gets exciting. That gets exciting to
we had so much
wood that you can burn up.
We had so much wood piled up. I was like, okay, you have enough wood. What the hell? And and then they were the month that he died. The next month when he got his SSI was going to be when he bought the pyrography kit, the starter kit, so he could start experimenting with it. And he died before he was able to get it. And we still had all this wood. Issa ended up giving the wood to somebody else that she knew. But thank God that shit was gone. I'm like, but
none of us are, promised tomorrow. So
yeah.
Obviously.
But the thing was even though he didn't get to start it or do it, he was so excited about doing it that it lifted his spirits a lot. So,
Exactly. And that's, I can remember my neurologist when things were bad. And this was when, I handled many big companies' money, you know what I mean? Administration and healthcare. And I handled a lot of their money. And the MS got to the point where I knew cognitively, and they all trusted me. I knew I would say enough is enough when I knew I could not handle it appropriately. You know what I mean? And I got to that point where I had to let that go. And my neurologist was like, I never was full of this ego kind of thing. Like, I never was full of that title kind of thing. Because at that point, I was so exhausted, I would have been happy to work at Walmart and hand out stickers saying, welcome to Walmart. You know what I mean? And be a greeter or something. But he's like, this is the time and season of your life that you need to live 100% of half your life. Like, this is the half that you have now. Take that to the fullest. He didn't mean like half your life. Like, he just meant take it where you are right now and live it 100%. And it's just always stuck with me that, things can always be worse. That's for sure. Just the biggest thing is I always had a problem with not trying to handle everything on my own.
Yep.
Not asking for help. And, I was bad about that. I was bad about that.
Well, the reason I started making jewelry just by simple stringing, and the reason I did was because I needed something that I could accomplish because I couldn't do damn near anything for any length of time. It was really, I couldn't even wash dishes.
Well, you start to do things that you can control and that you can do because there's so many things. That is a lesson I learned. There's so many things that have been out of my control. So I control the things that I can. You know what I mean?
So and I could
control of doing something.
I could do like 1 or 2 dishes and I'd have to go sit down for 20 minutes,
Sure.
Or I'd sweep for 5 minutes. I'd have to sit down for 30. It was horrible. And it was really, really depressing. All the things that I never wanted to do, I suddenly couldn't do them. And I wanted to do them really badly. So I was at Walmart one day and I was just, my cousin and I used to collect beads. My dad ended up selling my bead collection from, the 70s. He sold them at a yard sale for $2. He didn't ask me if I wanted them. He just sold them, which pissed me off. But, we used to love collecting beads. So I happened to be walking through the craft area in Walmart and I saw all these beads and like the little, pliers and things. And I'm like, you know what? I could do that. Yeah. And my goal, the only thing I thought was that I could make stuff that maybe my daughter would like, or both daughters, because one was like 12 or 13 and the other was like 7 or something. And so, I grabbed some beads and the supplies and stuff and just started doing simple stringing. And then I picked up a beading magazine and learned that the bead stitches, the peyote and things like that. And so I just kept making more advanced things. And I was like, I could actually sell some of this stuff. And I have sold some of my pieces that, when I was beading.
Yeah.
And so that
that's sweet, Bonnie.
I also had stuff stolen from me, which pissed me off really badly. But, and then the beading went to, I was doing macrame and hemp jewelry and using the Fimo clay beads, which pulled me into, hey, I can make my own beads. So I picked up some Fimo clay. And then I was like, I could use this for more than just beads. So I made a couple of little sculpture things. And, and then I was on Facebook and this thing came on my Facebook for Beaducation. And it was a video that she had gone live. The owner of Beaducation went live and I was like, Beaducation, huh? So I was like, well, let's see what this is about. And I clicked on it and that started my metal stamping when they had a video on there about soldering. And I was like, hey, I used to solder when I was in high school. And so, yeah, that it was like one thing after another led to another. It's like a gateway thing. Beading is a gateway craft, people.
Yeah, it is.
And, but it gave me a sense of accomplishment when I made something, and when people complimented on me on it, it made me feel really good that I made something that somebody else liked. You know,
sure.
it wasn't just in my head that it was pretty, you know?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah. So hopefully people will like the things that I make now with the soldering and the metal stamping, and eventually everything will get incorporated together, the beading, the polymer clay, and the metal stamping and metal smithing.
Well, you know, you'll be making things from your heart, and it's just like, you know, people that bake with their heart, and all, it's all going to be good. Everybody's going to love it, you know, because it's going to be made with your heart. Plus, I'm sure it has all of your talent, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had the guru of soldering compliment me on a ring that I made. So
very cool.
She's been on TV. She's got like 3 or 4 books out. She's, you know, goes to the Tucson show. She charges like she gets like over $300 for her classes. If you want to go to her class at the bead shows, it's an all-day class. She gives all the supplies, and you get to keep your items, and you make like 2 or 3 things. So it's definitely worth it. But her name's Kate Richburg.
Huh. I have to look her up.
And she complimented. I posted a picture of a ring that I made in Beaducation. I'm an admin at Beaducation. I moderate their channel, their group, and I posted it. I was like, okay, I finally got my soldering, everything situated, and I made this. And she was like, oh my god, that's beautiful. You did a really good job. And I'm like, oh. I fangirl over Kate Richburg, man. I'm like, oh my god, she said she liked it, you know. And that made me feel really good. So. Yeah, well, and I have one of her books. So yeah, but yeah, it's, you know, I was constantly learning new things, and I liked that because I was looking at the patterns and things, and I'm like, I could make that, and I'd make it, and it would come out, you know, not maybe perfect, but it was how it was supposed to be, and I was satisfied with it, and other people liked it, and
I do things like that for like therapy on my hands, because I haven't had like feeling in my skin around my fingertips or all the way up my arm to probably my bicep. I don't really feel my skin for at least 15 years. But thankfully my fingers, for the most part, and my feet do what my brain tells them to do, sometimes a little slower than whatever. So I do a lot of that things just for therapy, hooking things, buttoning things, just to keep my fingers able to do that. But again, a lot of these things, I mean, some illnesses are visibly seen and some are not.
Yeah.
That's why.
Well, I'll tell you, when John's back went out and he went and he got an MRI and they told him he had degenerative disc disease, he apologized to me every day for a full month because the first 3 years we were together and my back was bad. And, you know, and then I got disability, but it didn't look like anything was wrong with me. He was like, oh, you'll be fine. You're overemphasizing it, or you're exaggerating, or whatever. His back went out, and he apologized to me every day for blowing off what I was
doing. My gosh. I mean, my husband never really, he's always been wonderful about the MS. And sometimes it was obvious. When I was in a wheelchair, it was obvious I had a problem. When I was with a walker, it was obvious, or a cane. But generally, to look at me now, even, nobody would realize that I have cognitive issues, that it takes me 10 minutes to hook my bra, you know what I mean? But I still do things like that just to make sure, just to keep doing things like that. Things that people take for granted, things that take me 3 times longer than somebody else. And that if you're walking beside me, and I start shoving you off to the left, it's just because that's the way my leg's going, or, you know, people think you're drunk. Like, you know, or that I might just fall because my leg will disappear. You know, it's, I hate it because around here, there's a lot of older population, retirement community, much older than me. And if I'm having a bad MS day, that's the only time I'll use my handicap sticker, because I do have a handicap placard. But if I know my legs are not doing well, I will use it. And the looks that I get, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because I come out of the vehicle looking like I'm fine. But I don't know. I just say the heck with it. But I also never take for granted looking at anybody as though they should be able to do whatever I think they should be able to do visibly, you know?
What pissed me off was Issa used to park in handicap spots. And they had not gotten the placard for the car yet. And I was like, you can't park here, Issa. And she goes, what? You're handicapped? And I'm like, yes, but you can't park here because you don't have the placard. And I'm like, just drop me off at the door, you know, and go park. And she goes, oh, it's fine. And she'd get out of the car and walk away. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, you know, and it used to make me so mad. And she would do that when nobody was with her either. And she is not in any way handicapped except mentally.
Yeah.
Well, we have a permanent tag on one of our vehicles because Mike has it. I mean, I could get a tag too, but I went on disability when I was in a wheelchair, but I came off of disability within a year because I got better.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they did finally get a placard. They got it about 4 months before John died, so I'm sure she's still using it.
But I mean, I still can use one because my distance, even though I don't have the disability rating to get disability.
Yeah.
You know, my doctor gives me a for the car. And if I think the way disability works in my situation, because I did that ticket to work program and went back to work. And then I started working for myself. But I think if my MS ever progressed to a different level, it would be easy to get it back in place, I think.
Yeah.
See, Bonnie, I solved that problem. I don't wear one.
I was just so young. And that was part of the reason why Mike got denied the first time with the kidney failure. They flat out said, because you're under 50, you have 50% less chance. The moment you turn 50, your chances of getting improve by 30 some more to 80%. So the closer your age is to true Social Security age, you're in a different category, no matter what your illness is.
All it takes here in Texas is just a letter from your doctor stating that you need it. So.
Well, it certainly isn't like that here in this lovely state of Florida. But it took the doctor stating homebound, wheelchair bound, unable to feed himself, and then when they got that letter, they approved it immediately.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, Bonnie, I don't even wear one out. I haven't worn a bra in over 10 years. Because they hurt.
Hey, you know, in this day and age, I'm happy with a sports bra. I mean, where do I go?
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube. What can you guys tell?
I used to wear the sports bra, and then I was just, and even that hurt my back because it pulls on my shoulders, and I don't like it.
Sometimes that helps, like make sure I'm sitting up straight.
Yeah,
so
I do without them, and I don't care because I don't give a flying fuck what people think. That if it's somebody I don't know, you don't pay my rent, you don't sleep in my bed, you're not doing my dishes, you're not buying my food. Get the hell away from me. I don't give a fuck.
People may not even recognize me if I went out there. It would be like, whoa, did you get a boob job? No.
So yeah,
No, you just saw me from sports bra to a real bra. One smushes, one fluffs.
Yep. So I don't bother with them because they cause me extra pain, and I don't need extra. You know, I
get it. I get it. Sometimes with MS, your skin. I don't know whether this makes sense to anybody, but your skin actually hurts. Like
yeah.
I have a day that clothing up anything that's like certain seams or it's just my skin hurts. It's hard to explain. And then I'll just wear like a Florida sundressy kind of thing or my nightgown.
It makes sense to me because like when I don't have the gabapentin, I can't touch things without pain.
You know, when you said something about the gabapentin, I was like, daggone it. I have probably 3,000 pills of gabapentin.
You have my address, right?
No, I can't do that. I was just like, I actually just told Mike, I was like, get all that gabapentin out of your bin where his meds are, because they just kept auto refilling it, and it was a zero copay. So he never told me, hey, I've got plenty. So it just kept coming and coming. And then when the dog tore her ACL, we gave her gabapentin for a little while until it was a little bit better. But my God, the big fat bottles, because they were giving him 400. They come in like 200 milligram pills, I think.
Yeah, they come in 100, 300, 600, and 900.
Okay, so he was taking 200 twice a day. So they were 100. So there was big bottles of them,
Yeah.
You're right, Bonnie. When you hurt so bad, it makes you, I can get nauseated or I get a headache from the fact that I'm in pain or something. But
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Well, when I was not able to get to my doctor again, my prescription was 900 milligrams 3 times a day. And
yeah, the dog was prescribed 3 times as much as my husband was.
And instead of giving me, I don't know what my doctor is doing, but I mean, this guy it's the same doctor John had that wouldn't give him pain medication or send him to the right therapy. He took over my doctor's practice, and I don't like him. But instead of just prescribing the 900 milligram, he prescribed the 600 and told me to take 1.5 tablets 3 times a day. I'm like,
tablets? Isn't gabapentin a capsule only?
It is until you get to the 300 milligrams.
Oh, that's why I wouldn't know.
Or no, until you get to the 600 milligrams, and then it's a tablet, a really big one. But yeah. So I mean, I've got enough gabapentin to last me maybe a month and a half right now, and I can actually pat the cat without having the gloves on, because I would pat my cat and it would feel like I was touching a.
No, I felt bad because I was like, yeah, we've got a zero copay for the, the generic stuff, and I wish he had told me. I should have just been more on the ball with the fact that I needed to stop it, because you can't donate it or do anything with it. But
I know what you can do with it.
I hear ya.
I have somewhere that could go.
I know.
Because my doctor won't I mean, it's stupid because there's no test for him to give me or anything for him to refill this medication. But
I had to take, did you ever? I know they were talking. 800 milligrams 4 times a day. Wow. Well, I know that they said for him, with the concern he's got and the kidney issue he has, that 200 twice a day was the most they really wanted to give him before they'd have to do some other kind of drug.
Yeah.
Because of his kidneys. So I don't know. Maybe gabapentin has a problem with, in higher doses, has a problem with. I just give him one of my baclofen if he ends up needing something more for pain or something. I took tramadol and baclofen for years and years, but I use those. It's just CBD, not with the THC. There's CBD gummies. I just use one. They're like a little fruit ring, like the True Little Fruit Rings. They sell them here locally.
What I have is they're the 300 milligram capsules, but because I've been off gabapentin for 4 months or more, I only take 600. I did try just a 300, and it dulled the pain a little bit, but not like it should on a regular dose.
Yeah, they were hoping it would help him with it. So when it really wasn't helping, that's why I still have this autofill that was going on for quite some time. He wasn't taking it anymore. Yeah. So we got a stockpile of gabapentin.
So I mean, the 600 milligram right now is working. I mean, I'm sure that
I know my mom takes it. I just know, well, as for me, as long as I stretch, if I don't stretch in the morning, I don't have as much pain. If I stretch, it's just really, I have to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
If I don't do that, then I'm not going to walk well, and I'm just going to have more aches and pains.
Well, my Klingon kitty was very happy when all of a sudden she was getting patted a lot again.
Yeah, that makes a difference. It makes you happier too, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, when I don't have the gabapentin, it's like touching a wire bristle brush when I touch one of the animals, and all of them have silky smooth hair and fur. So, I couldn't touch them because it hurt.
No, I get it. That's about how I when I was talking about sometimes your skin hurts. It's like certain clothes, even though it could be a soft cotton thing, it just is like. But do the best I can rather than sit around naked.
So the animals are very happy that they're getting love without me having gloves on, and I'm very happy to not have to wear the gloves again. I mean, I have to wear them when I'm in the wheelchair, of course, because otherwise but that will mess with my hands bad, wheeling the wheelchair around without the gloves on. So
Yeah.
I wear them when I'm in the wheelchair, and but as soon as I get back and I'm back on my bed, those gloves are off now, and I'm like, yay, my hands can breathe,
Yeah.
and I can touch things without. I mean, there's still a little bit of pain, but I want to try and make these last as long as I can because when they're gone, I'm done. So
Pulling teeth to get anything else. Yeah.
yeah, so. But it was funny because as soon as the pain was out of my hands when I first got them on Sunday, got them out of the mailbox and everything, um, the lack of pain in my hands made me want to just sleep. I was like, oh look, I can actually rest now, and I slept for about 4.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I woke up and my hands weren't burning and stinging and being on fire, and I was like, yes, so. Because your system is so trying to fight the pain that once the pain is gone, it's like, oh, good, we can relax now. Boom, and you crash.
Yeah.
Like when I was in the hospital, when I had the amputation, I tried not to take the morphine. I didn't want the morphine. And about an hour after the anesthesia and everything wore off, I was like, can I have my morphine now?
I'm allergic to morphine.
And they put that in my IV, and I felt it going into my veins.
I'm allergic to codeine and morphine.
And like 30 seconds later, I was pain-free and I was out like a light. I'm like, oh, no pain. Boom. I was asleep. I'm like, damn, I couldn't even enjoy not being in pain. But yeah, for like the first 3 days, I was in a euphoric because I didn't have any pain because of the morphine. And then I asked them to reduce the dose a little bit, and I was without pain and I was able to stay awake so I could see the people that came to visit me.
Yeah.
But,
well, I mean, you can see how some people can get addicted to different things and all. With anything, I take the most minimal amount necessary. You know what I mean? I think my pain threshold is pretty high.
You know what? I figured they lopped off my leg. I was due a party. Okay.
I mean, it's hello. I tend to agree with you there.
Yeah. So
a couple of my cancer surgeries, I'm like, oh Lord, I can remember waking up. I was waking up obviously, and tears were coming down my face. I couldn't talk and I couldn't form words. I couldn't even really see, but my doctor was standing right there and I was crying. And he's like, I know, he knew what he had just done to me too. He's like, I know you're in pain. I know you're in pain. I'm going to get you out of this pain. Yeah. So it was even before I could open my eyes. He knew what he had done to me. So he knew I had to be at, yeah, you're right, Bonnie. I go for my oils first and then I go from there too. Yeah. There's a lot of holistic, natural things that I have come across over the years. And I try to do that first. For sure.
Well, I had a double fear with my amputation because not only was I losing my leg, but the first tattoo that John ever gave me was on that leg.
Aw, wow.
So, before the amputation, because the doctor drew like a little line on my leg for where they were probably going to have to do the amputation, and it was really close to my tattoo. And he told me he might have to take off more than what he was expecting or less. He wasn't really sure. It depends on where the infection had gotten to. Because the infection was in my bone. So what?
And
the first time he took the bandages off, I was afraid to look because I was afraid that I had, my tattoo had gotten wrong. He saved my tattoo.
That's what I meant. And
I was like, you are the best doctor on the planet. And I was like, I love you. He's just laughing. I was like, you saved my tattoo. He goes, you are the only person.
It's the funniest things. Well, I mean, that's not a funny and small thing. It's a big thing, but everything's relative to, I believe everything's relative to what you've experienced in life, Yeah. So I remain empathetic to everybody. You know what I mean? My sister, I can look at my sister she's never had children. She's never had anything traumatic. So when she gets like the flu, it's horrible. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, can I make you some soup? I'm, empathetic to, so everything relates to what somebody's experienced. But I remember like my first surgery, before I had anything, I had like a little cyst on the side, like a sebaceous cyst above my ear. And I can remember telling the doctor that he was not allowed to shave more than a quarter size spot of my hair. I mean, that was how critical, like, you can't be messing with my hair, you know? And now it's like, now that I've been through what I've been through, it's sheesh. Do what you gotta do. Do what you gotta do.
For like 2 weeks before my amputation, John and I were coming up with designs. If part of the tattoo got ruined, we were coming up with designs like it could be a sunset. We could do like like over the ocean type of thing and do waves, and we were coming up with all kinds of ways to modify it if it got damaged, you know.
Right.
But luckily it did not, and because John gave me that tattoo while I was chatting in my AOL chat room.
That's funny.
He was actually tattooing me while I was chatting. It was funny as hell because here I am. I'm sitting kind of sideways on the chair with my leg hanging over the arm of the chair, and he's tattooing me, and I'm typing. And every once in a while, I would type out, ouch, ouch, ouch. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting a tattoo. It hurts. Ouch. You know, they're like, you are not. And I'm like, I am. And when he was done, we took a picture of it. And I sent it to people. And they're like, oh, my God, you did get a tattoo. I'm like, I told you. After he gave me the tattoo, that's when he wanted to teach me how to do tattoos. And I did his back arms. I did Celtic Pride on the back of his arms, his upper arms, in Old English, open Old English lettering. And he had tattooists going, who did your, lettering? And he was like, oh, my bear. And they're like, what? He goes, my friend Kodi did it. And they were like, have her come in and talk to us because we want her to, do tattoos here or apprentice here or whatever. I'm like, I know what an apprentice does. They empty the trash and answer the phones. I'm good,
Yeah.
But yeah. So John was my guinea pig.
AOL chat, AOL trucker talk. I can remember AOL chats.
Yeah.
That's been a while though, man.
Yeah. So unfortunately, almost all the tattoos, there are 2 other people that have tattoos that I did on them that I'm no longer in contact with. But other than that, all of my tattoos were on John, and they're all in a bag now in ashes. So luckily I still have pictures of him and the tattoos that I did. But my best work went up in smoke, literally.
Yeah.
Because he was cremated when he died. So I'm like, He told me I could skin him and use him as a lampshade. And I'm like, that's illegal.
Oh, gross.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, ew.
Well, I'm gonna hop out of here. What do we got? I know you're not going to an auction, but I got 30 minutes till Victoria.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna grab something to eat and some things to list while I'm working.
All right, honey.
All right,
thank you for coming up on the piano. I love you.
I love you too. I'll hop up anytime, but poor Jay didn't get a word in edgewise the whole time I came up.
Hey, I'm just sitting here listening.
Tag along. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, Donna. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye, hon.
Yeah, the chat room that I was in the most was AOL, the Pagan Circle.
Yeah.
And there was a few others that we went into. Pagan Tea House was another one that was okay. But some of them that we would go into, they were so uppity and so judgmental. And I was just like, you know what? Fuck off. You know? So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, we just like with YouTube, like our community, you form family units when you're online and you talk to someone every day for years,
Right.
I mean, you get close with people, and sometimes there are people that are deceiving you. We have a few of those, but most of the time, people are true to what they are when they're not online. It's just the people who are apparently not happy with themselves that have to pretend to be something they're not.
Right.
And that's not cool. There is somebody that I don't know if Irene is still here, but when I was on her channel, there was a man from the UK that he sings. His name is John. I think his channel is Frustrated Fishing. He does a lot of fishing videos.
Yeah.
and there's somebody that's stealing his videos and his songs and
Another
claiming
one?
that they're theirs. And I'm like, that sounds familiar.
Another tie?
It's either another Ty or it's Ty. Not really sure, but from what he was saying, the behavior is very similar.
Yeah.
So I let them know about Tyrannical, and we're all kind of the same frame of mind that it might be the same person, but yeah, the person's copying their videos and then copying their lives, and where they're ranting and raving, and he's tried to attack John about mental issues and all kinds of shit, and just because John reported him for stealing his music, which is his right to do, but I'm like, that sounds like our little friend.
Yep.
Yeah, Bonnie, I'm the same way. If you haven't noticed, you have to be really careful. And I do put out a public service announcement when people are like, hey, I subbed to you. I'm like, okay, here's the public service announcement. It's in 2 parts. 1, my show is not for children because you never know what subject is going to come up, and we will talk about it openly. And 2, it's not for people that get offended easily, and to be careful what you ask. You can ask me anything you want, but be careful about your question, because I will answer it completely honestly and bluntly, and it might not be what you're looking for. So, if there's a question I don't want to answer, I hold the right to say I don't want to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
But if I do answer it, you might get more than you bargained for. So, yeah. But yeah, my channel is definitely not rated for children, and I have it said that way too, that nobody under 18 should watch it or whatever. But kids lie about their age all the time, so or they get on parents' accounts or whatever. But I am not here to parent the planet, so
Oh.
I mean, I do behave myself if I go into someone else's chat and they're like, okay, it's like a PG-13 type of chat. I will control my language. I'm perfectly capable of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, a shit or damn or hell might slip out, but I will control myself with the use of other more vulgar words.
Right.
Because I respect other people's channel. And if they have kids in there and they don't have a problem with that, then I will watch what I say. But if I'm on my channel and a kid comes into my channel, that's on them, not me. So sorry. You're going to learn a lot more than you expected, In
a hurry.
Welcome to adult education.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's on them. The parents should be watching what their kid is doing online. I watched what my kids did online. They didn't like that, but I watched them. And I caught my daughter a couple of times doing things she shouldn't, because I wasn't stupid. I put a damn keylogger on my computer. And I logged everything. Everything that was typed on my computer was recorded.
Yeah.
And she didn't understand how she kept getting caught being stupid. I'm like, because I'm a witch and I'm psychic. And she's like, run out of the room. But yeah. I mean, it wasn't anything horrible. My oldest daughter was the one that, the people that you get warned about, that people, when you're a kid or younger or whatever, you get warned that people might not be what they're presenting themselves to be.
Right.
Yeah, that was my daughter. So that was a proud parental moment. I'm like, you are the person that people warn other people about. Like, this is not good. Because she was 14, and she was telling men, adult men over the age of 21, that she was 18. She had a 3-year-old son. The kid's father was in prison. She was in a psychiatric halfway house, something. I mean, I'm dead.
Damn.
And she found her brother hanging from a tree. I mean, she had all the psychological things set up so that she suckered people in, because, single mom, 18, has a 3-year-old kid. They'll have sex with you.
Yeah.
Then she'd pop up the mental thing, or she'd pop up the family thing where her family was all dead and whatever, sympathy. And then she'd pop on the psychological thing. So you're afraid to say no to her or to walk away from her because she might do something to herself. She figured all of that out, all of the psychological manipulations at 14 years old.
That's crazy.
And she was talking to 4 or 5 men that were over the age of 21, and those phone calls were not platonic. And I found this out, and because my mom was wondering why her phone bill was so high, and she couldn't figure it out. And I said, okay, my mom is the kind of person that has her phone bills printed and sent to her. So I was like, all right, I will come over and we will sit down and go through the phone bill. And so I'm looking, and I'm like, why are you why? What are these calls to British Columbia at 1 o'clock in the morning and Oklahoma at 2 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, she goes, what? Those can't be right. They must have put the wrong things on my bill. And I'm like, well, whose number is this? And I read off the number. She goes, well, that's Desiree's number. And I'm like, you're going to have a couple more long distance calls on your bill. She goes, why? I said, because I'm about to use Desiree's phone to call these numbers. And she had those numbers listed under girls' names.
Uh-oh.
While the people that answered the phones were not girls. The guy from Oklahoma was 2 days away from buying her a bus ticket for her and her son to come live with him.
Damn.
And yeah. Hey, Kodi, was just talking about you. So yeah, I called the guy in Oklahoma, and he was like, what? He's like, well, who the hell is this? And I'm like, this is her. Thank you for knocking over the cat food. I was like, this is her mother. He goes, it can't be her mother. Her mother's dead. And I'm like, I talked pretty good for her. I was able to dial the phone even though I'm dead. That's pretty cool. And that's who I've heard this. I got the story from the first time. And he was like, tell her not to call me anymore, because he had custody of his 2-year-old son. My daughter was 14 years old. So he could have lost custody of his son, but see, my daughter was not the kind of person who thought about other people in that, to be considerate like that. Like, oh my God, he's could lose his kid. It was just all about her. And then I called the guy in British Columbia, and he was freaking out. And then I basically called all the numbers, got the same story from every guy. And then they all freaked out and said, erase her number from my phone, from her phone. And then as I was going back into her room, the phone rang. And it was a Marine. He was 19. And she called him her Raybo. His name was Raymond. And I ended up using a drill sergeant voice with him and told him I'd report him to his CO if he contacted my daughter again. But he actually knew how old he was. And he got in trouble later on, and all of his computers, phones, everything got confiscated because he had a lot of younger girls that he was being a pig with. He's the one that sent a picture of himself ejaculating to my daughter to her Yahoo email.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because my mother wasn't believing me. When I was telling her, with the phone call, she wasn't believing me. When I went into my daughter's email and saw that, I printed it, took it out to my mother, and held it up and said, this is what your granddaughter is doing. So, yes, I shoved a picture of a penis in my mom's face. Needless to say, my mom was pretty horrified. And he apparently was a predator to teenage girls, one of which, unfortunately for him, was his CO's daughter. So he got in big trouble for all that and ended up in the brig for a while.
Dishonorable discharge, all that neat stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was my mom never watched her when she was on the computer. Like, my mom didn't realize that every time she walked in the room, Desiree would just shrink the screen. And my mom wasn't computer literate enough to realize that it was, there were tabs open at the bottom of the screen, so she didn't know to check or keep an eye on or anything. So my daughter got away with a lot on that computer.
Yeah.
What finally stopped it, and my mom finally started being more supervising, was when my daughter was talking to a man in New York, and he was trying to extract himself from the situation. And she told him that if he stopped talking to her, she was going to kill herself. Well, he contacted the police in New York, who contacted the state police in South Carolina after they traced her IP address. They contacted the state police here in South Carolina, who contacted our sheriff department, and 6 police cars showed up at my mother's house. And they came in and they searched my daughter's room for sharp objects, for razor blades, for anything that she could use to hurt herself. My mother was horrified and so embarrassed, because my mother lives in a kind of rich neighborhood.
Yeah.
And you have 6 sheriff's cars in front of her house. She was absolutely horrified. And she's like, well, I don't think she would do that, because my mother denied anything she didn't want in her bubble. And the sheriff department, the deputy that was talking to my mother, pulled out printed sheets of paper. They had been able to pull the private message and get it printed out, everything that was said. So my mother was able to read it for herself, and she was horrified that Desiree would do that. And I was like, I told you. You did not listen to me. You rewarded her for her behavior with all those men online, and you thought she was going to stop, you know? So yeah, that caused Desiree's computer privileges to be extremely restricted, because when you embarrass my mother in public, that shit will happen to you.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so my daughter, my oldest daughter, was the person that you warned other people about for quite a while. And I'm like, thank you for that proud parental moment. And she tried turning around and say, well, I don't get it to spend any time with my mother. I'm like, so you're going to be a stupid little bitch because you don't get to spend time with me? What the hell? No, that's not going to work. She's like, well, Kayla and Johnny got raised by you. And I'm like, yeah, and they don't like it either. You know? Like, so, but she did. She tried to manipulate it, and my mom was rewarding her and telling her she could do. I'm like, what are you doing? So yeah, I don't know. It was a big mess when she was 14. But you know, and that's on my parents, because my parents raised that girl. I didn't have. She was cool and singing Riders on the Storm and everything when she was with me, but 3 years old, they got custody and they ruined it.
Yeah.
I mean, the coolest thing on the planet was my little girl at 3 years old sitting in the back seat of the car, in her car seat, wearing a tie-dye outfit and a bandana on her head, singing Riders on the Storm. I was like, hell yeah. And we were in Texas at the time. We lived in Temple, Texas for 3 months.
Yeah.
And yeah. And that's actually the happiest memory I have with my oldest, was when she was 3 years, she was actually, yeah, she just turned 3.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm on live. Stop fighting. Cats. So yeah, John, I was talking about the guy that was stealing your music and how it sounds like the same person we were dealing with. So that's why I was talking about you, in case you were wondering, because they said, hey, he was just talking about you. That'll start you off going, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, talk about him and he shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I summoned him like Beetlejuice. So yeah, I don't know, but hopefully at 32 she's not, fucking with people that badly anymore. I would hope. She's too busy, actually. She's either at school or she's studying or she's working.
Yeah.
So
oh man.
But yeah, the whole fact that with my crafting and stuff, that my stuff is closer to getting set up, and it's the want and know that I will be able to do it is keeping me up emotionally. You know what I mean? I'm getting closer to being able to set everything up and
right,
get my ass back to work and get some of these designs that are crowding my head into actual reality. Because like with that cabochon, the teardrop cabochon that I got from Sandy, it's unusual because it's not rounded on the bottom. It comes to kind of a point, like there's a tip on it.
Yeah.
And my brain immediately started creating designs around that.
Yeah.
And that's why when I was like, you know what, I have a little bit I can use. I'm like, Sandy, can I have that cabochon? My brain would not let go of it. So now it's mine.
Yeah. Somebody in my lapidary group down here in Texas asked a stupid question this morning. Says like, do you guys cut a cabochon to fit your design, or do you make a design around the cabochon you find? This is, it kind of depends on, whether you're designing it yourself or whether you're just finding a pre-made one.
Right.
If you're cutting your own cabochons, you're going to make them fit what design you have in idea.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because you form the bezel wire around the cabochon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all you have to do is keep in mind what size you want. I've never done lapidary work, And I've seen it done, but I've never done it myself.
Yeah,
But,
it's pretty easy, but
you know, you just keep the size and design, you know, shape that you want in your head and make it like that, and then you make the jewelry around that.
right.
You know, that's why they have bezel wire, so you can form it around what you have.
Right. But I mean, like I said, you know, it goes either way. I mean, you can either buy pre-made cabochons, or you can, you know, take
And
a
I have some.
and if you don't do lapidary work yourself, there's several shops where you can take a design in and they'll cut one.
Yeah.
That shape.
Now, I have cabochon cups. I have bezel cups for the smaller bezels, because I have 3mm and 4mm stones, and I'm not forming a bezel around that shit.
No.
My hands will not allow me to do it. So I buy the preformed ones that I will solder onto something. But for the bigger stones, I make the bezels myself, you know, or the oval. They do have pre-made bezel cups for larger stones.
Yeah.
That are just plain bezel cups. I mean, you can put, you know, fancy wire around it and do whatever you want around it. But, you know, they have ones for ovals, but they don't have them for like hearts or star shape or teardrop. So you have to make those yourself. Be a little inventive, people. Damn, you're creating something, so create, you know?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I have all kinds of stuff to work with. I mean, my silver and copper supply is not huge. My gold supply, I only have little bits, like little solderables. Like I have a gold bumblebee.
Yeah.
And I think I have some gold hearts that are just used for accents. When I'm working with like silver, I can use gold as an accent. But the metal supplies are not huge. But my cabochon and different things that I can put bezel wire. Like I have some sea glass. A friend of mine that's in education worked with sea glass, and she made this gorgeous design. I'm like, oh my God, I'm stealing that design.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm making something like that because that is amazing. And she's like, go ahead, you know. I was like, I will, as soon as I have really cool sea glass like that. And I actually looked online for some, and I didn't find anything like what she had. And it didn't look like anything I would really want to work with. And she ended up sending me a handful of her sea glass. Cool. So I'm like, woohoo, you know. And Willow sent me a whole Ziploc bag full of cabochons, and I've, you know, been gifted or bought a lot of cabochons. So I have a crap ton of cabochons to work with.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be busy for a while with all that.
Yeah. Well, I've been getting supplies for 2 years now, because you know, with my budget, I can't buy that much, and I was getting a little bit of credit with Beaducation when I was moderating. I haven't been able to moderate as well as I was because Facebook keeps screwing me up. They're not giving me my notifications.
Yeah.
And they're not putting the posts in order on the group page, and it's hard to moderate when you're not getting notified of things. And I told Beaducation, I told the owner Lisa, I said, look, I'm not able to moderate like I was. So stop doing the credit until Facebook figures what it's doing and I can moderate correctly. And she was like, are you sure? I was like, look, if I can't do the job correctly, I don't want the credit for it, you know? So,
right.
I haven't had that for a while. So my supplies have dwindled except for what, you know, auctions and stuff.
Speaking of moderating a group, would you be interested in moderating another group?
What group?
Sandy's new group.
Oh yeah. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. As soon as I saw the groups, when I got the invitation, or didn't get the invitation, I heard about it on her. She was on live.
Yeah, I was there too.
I immediately messaged her and says, you need to make me an admin because you've set this as a public group, and that is dangerous right now. I mean, and Facebook just this morning now made even more changes to public groups. So I've already got it set to go to a private. It should be private by Friday.
Yeah.
And then I'm writing up rules and stuff right now to post and questions for people to join. So,
I mean, I feel bad that I feel like I slacked off with Beaducation because I was always helping people and answering questions and giving people links and things. But now I'm not getting the notifications, and I've been so busy on YouTube I kind of fell down the YouTube rabbit hole.
And the more people you have on your Facebook page, the less you're going to get from the people. You have to go into your settings and, visit that group more often so that you keep it coming up at the top. And
so what I need to do is mentally adjust and divide my time up between YouTube and my Facebook group, and then I won't have a problem accepting the credit. But I wasn't going to take, because she was giving me like a $50 credit every month.
Yeah.
And that's what I was using to get my supplies. I would either save it up and get something that's really expensive that I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Or, because the thing is when I started before my health went kaput and then, my foot and blah, 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 I was able to make like one or two things, and then I had to wait for supplies. I had to wait for the money to get supplies. And with my budget, that took a while. So it was frustrating because I would get on a roll and then I'd have to stop. And I'm like, yeah. So what my goal was, since I wasn't able to work, was to get as much supplies as I could so that I didn't have to do that. I could make something, I could make a pendant and be like, okay, I'm going to set that aside for now. I'm going to start on a ring. I can do this, I can do that, I can keep going, I can make different things. So, now I'll be able to do that at least for a little while. And if my stuff sells, then I'll be able to keep doing that because I'll have the money for the supplies.
Right.
So.
And and with Sandy's group too, you'll be able to show your stuff and sell and stuff there too. So.
Yeah.
Just no videos.
Right. So, I'm so anxious to get back to work. You don't even know. Hopefully my torch will still work because I haven't used my torch in 3 years.
No, yeah, it should still work. You probably just need new gas containers for it.
Yeah, hopefully it's not clogged up.
That shouldn't be.
But the torches are like $20, so I should be. If it does get clogged up, I should be able to get another one.
Yeah. Oh man, years ago I had bought my wife wanted to start doing lamp work beads herself.
Yeah, I wanted to do that too.
I bought her the kit, had all the tools, everything necessary, the torch, everything. Went and bought her the gas containers, and it had all the glass rods. And I think to this day it's probably been maybe 12 years she's had it, and it's still sealed up in the brand new package.
Oh my God. I wanted to do lamp work too. There's an artist that lives in British Columbia. And her glasswork beads are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And I follow her on Facebook now. I met her when she was on MySpace. And when everybody moved to Facebook, she was one of the first people I tracked down. Cool. She does dragons and owls and horses and all kinds, like their heads.
Yeah.
And she basically paints with glass. It's absolutely beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, her focal beads that would have like a bee or a dragonfly or a horse or a dragon, those can sell for up to $135 for one fucking bead.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap. I'm my badass.
Me.
But I wanted to see if I could do it, and then I looked at the kit and it was $100 for the starter kit at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or something. I'm like, well, that lets that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I paid $69 for the one I got. Yeah.
But then I was like, you know what? I have so many other projects that I do that if I add one more, it's going to drive me crazy. So I'm like,
that's the way we were at one point 20 years ago. We were doing so many different crafts that we just didn't have time to do them all. And
because I wanted to try the pyrography too.
Yeah.
Because I can draw, but I have to be looking at what I'm drawing. And I can't draw lifelike things. I can redraw cartoons and I can resize them and stuff like that. And they come out really well.
Yeah.
But I have to be able to look at something. I mean, I did a drawing of a bunch of roses that I was looking at, and it was a picture of a tattoo. I stole the tattoo and put it on paper.
Yeah.
And it came out. I mean, even I was stunned that it came out so good. It looked better than the tattoo, put it that way. But I can do stuff like that. But just if I have a design in my head and I try and put it on paper, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, but pyrography, all you have to do is use a transfer and put the design on the wood.
Right.
And then you just trace it. So that I could do, but I have the last thing in the world I need is a pile of wood in my house. You know what I mean? So
yeah, really.
I'm like, no, I take a hold off on that. So I have enough to do and to get to between the beading and metal stamping and metal smithing, soldering. Yeah, I have enough that'll keep me busy. So
Yeah.
I don't want to add any more to it because I also saw like scrapbooking stuff and people I know was Bonnie I think it's Bonnie that makes the journals. I have another friend that makes journals.
Yeah.
Irene from Leo and Irene, she makes cards that are absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And I do have I was doing some like embossing and metal rubber stamps and stuff like that. And I have the cards. I have cards and I have bookmarks that I can do designs on and stuff that I could emboss for people.
Did you
Although
ever
embossing on a bookmark would be awkward because you can't put something embossed in between paper.
Right. Did you ever try stained glass?
No, I had a friend of mine that did stained glass, and man, she looked like she had gone through a shredder. Her hands were just all kinds of sliced up.
Mine never sliced up. That was the best things that we ever did when we had our antique shop. A lady across the lot from us had her shop over there. She was doing stained glass, and so we picked it up, and she'd give us her leftover cut bits and pieces, and we started out taking those little odd shaped triangle 3-sided pieces and put them together and made what we'd call dancing star sun catchers.
Yeah. So. I think, I have a faint memory of doing it, but we weren't allowed to do anything with like hot lead or whatever that you use to seal it all together.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to use that. So we had to make our designs. And I think it was at camp. We had to do our designs, whatever we were going to do. And then they would do the sealant stuff to make everything stick together. I think I made a sun catcher from my mom.
Yeah.
I have a very faint memory of playing with, not playing, but working with glass pieces. It was either an art class or it was at camp. I can't remember which, but I have a very faint memory, but it wasn't something that that called to me as a craft, like the beading called to me at the time. And
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that part of it. And then we got a few years back, we got into doing production work for a leather designer here in town.
Oh, nice.
And we were actually hand sewing, dot kits and purses and wrap bracelets and stuff. I mean, I was cutting the pieces for the wrap bracelets and punching them and sewing them together. And
I think I actually have a kit in my. I have a big tote. It's one of those big long totes.
Yeah.
That I have because at one point I was going to try quilling, which is rolled paper.
Yeah.
And now my hands won't allow me to do that. So I have 2 kits of that. I was going to give my granddaughter, see if she wants to do it. But I think in that tote I have a one of those little leather purse kits, like the change purse.
Yeah.
That I would be able to do that. But I think I have one of those, and I was going to make it for either John or Callan, or I was going to make it for somebody, and then I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
So during my packing and unpacking and moving around and everything, I did find it. So I think it's in with all that stuff. But yeah, I have a tote of lost crafts, things that maybe I'll do, maybe I'll try, Like I have 2 books of how to make purses. And I have a book of how to reuse denim, like jeans.
Yeah.
And make things like backpacks and things with those.
Oh, yeah.
I have all these craft books of how to do things. So
all that stuff's easy. I take old denim and cut it into strips and roll it up and make denim beads like you would do a paper bead.
Yeah.
But with denim.
So I have I call it my box of misfit crafts. It's where all the stuff that I was thinking I might try, that's where it all goes if I never tried it. Even the thought of trying to do quilling right now, it hurts my hands. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm not rolling up tiny, teeny pieces, strips of paper to make designs. No, I think I'll pass.
Yeah.
But my granddaughter's very artistic. She can paint. Her paintings are fantastic. She's actually sold a few of them.
Yeah.
And she's artistic. So I was thinking maybe I'd give her those and see if she wants to try it. She's young. She has flexible fingers. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
But there's this. I mean, I gather crap. I have books on Chinese knotting, which will fit in with my jewelry work. I would pick up different things that I thought I might be able to enhance and combine with my beading or whatever, and I just never got to them. But I still have them all, and you never know. Might modify something. There is something called a Chinese purse that's in one of those books, and I do want to make it. And I do have a sewing machine. I've never used it, but I do have it. I used to use my mom's, so but it's round and it has the cords that thread through the top of it, but you can open it up almost completely so it's flat on a table.
Right.
And I thought that was the coolest looking thing ever, and I was like, I want one of those. And it tells you how to make it. So I'm like, one day I might actually make one.
Yeah.
And I was also at the time looking for different things that might be sellable that people would want to buy.
Yeah.
So, that's why I have backup craft books. I'm like, if people don't like my jewelry, I'm going to make purses or something.
Yeah.
But then there's a cost to that too, because you have to buy the fabric and the thread and blah, 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 so.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't have the money for all that, or the room to store it. So, but yeah, it's a really cool looking purse.
Look for something that you can take something that you've already got and make something with.
Yeah. So, but for right now, I'm satisfied with the beads and the metal work and all of that. Yeah. So I'm just anxious to get to it.
Right. Me too.
Because the designs in my head are getting sharp and they're starting to hurt.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I can't get the designs. If I have something that's in my head, I can visualize it perfectly. But if I try and transfer it down on a paper, it looks like a 5-year-old scribbling with their toes. It's terrible.
And then when you go get back to it, you look at your piece of paper and say, now what was that supposed to be?
Right. So, yeah.
You even recognize your own scribble.
Yeah, it literally looks like a 2-year-old or something scribbling with their toes. So, but I'll get there soon. My aunt is coming on the 17th with the dolly, to move things around. I cleaned up the craft room because that's where I had the puppy pads for Simi if I couldn't get her outside. So that it was still a mess, and the cats peed on the damn carpet that the ex-roommates glued to the floor.
Beautiful.
So that stinks. But I do have some Pine Sol. I'm gonna splatter all over that. And I've closed off the room, so the cats can't get in there, neither can the dog. I just had to make more of an effort getting the dog out more often, which, that'll hurt, but I'll do that. Yeah. And that way we can start putting the stuff in there. We can't put anything on that on the rug that's still in there. And it's one of those it's gray and there's squares of carpeting. So they actually sat there and took the time to take all these squares and stick them to the floor.
Oh man.
Yeah. I'm like, how fucking disrespectful when you don't own the home can you be, but we can't put anything on it because anything you put on it is then going to smell. But I'm gonna put Pine Sol over that. Pine Sol gets the smell of cat spray out, so it'll get the smell of cat pee out.
There's a bottle of stuff. I can't remember the name of it. It's some type of enzyme that you can pour on there that completely destroys the odor.
Well, unfortunately, that stuff costs money. I know Pine Sol takes out cat spray because I had my friend's cat sprayed my jacket, and she was like, "Well, put a cap full of Pine Sol in with it." So I did, and it got the smell out completely.
Yeah.
So that'll work.
This stuff that I was buying, because we had, like I say, up to like 14 cats, I think it was at one time.
Yeah.
It wasn't any more than a bottle of Pine Sol. So.
Yeah. So I have to do that. And but yeah, so the animals aren't allowed in that room anymore.
Yeah.
Once the stuff that's in my room is out of my room, I'll be able to bring their cat tree in here, so then they'll be happy. But I was going to let all the animals have the freedom of the whole house, and then I thought about it, and when I smoke, I keep my front door open. I open the storm door, and if I do that, the animals are, the cats, not the dogs, because she behaves herself.
Yeah.
But these damn satanic cats will go right under the wheelchair and go out the door, and I do not want them outside. So I'm like, well, they're trapped in my room for now. With my mom coming over once a week, I do not smoke in the rest of the house.
Yeah.
Especially where she's having a hard time catching her breath. So I'm still, even when I'm here by myself, I sit in the open doorway to smoke.
Yeah.
Because the smoke and everything will linger in the room. If I'm just smoking in the kitchen or something, that's going to linger. And when my mom can't catch her breath, it's going to interfere with it. So
yeah.
I don't want to cause my mom any more discomfort than she's already in.
Right.
So I've been smoking. So I can't let the cats out there. I have to figure out that. But I'd actually prefer switching to a vape, because then I could vape wherever I wanted to.
Yeah, I thought you were doing a vape before.
Well, I was, but the vape died.
Oh.
The coils in them only last so long.
Yeah.
And the vape that I have, it's a mini pen, and I like it. I love it because it lasts for a long time, and it only takes 20-25 minutes to charge. The tank and the coils are all one piece.
Yeah.
And it costs $9.95 for one. And unfortunately, they have two different sizes. They have a 1.2 millimeter, which I guess is the screw that you screw into it. The screw end is 1.2 millimeter or 1.6 millimeter. Visually, you can't tell the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what size it is. I do have, a little, it's a brass thing that can tell me how many millimeters it is.
Yeah.
But I have no idea where it is right now. So, I don't want to spend $20 plus shipping on something when I don't know, because I'd have to buy one of each size to figure out which size mine takes. Because I looked at the box that this thing is stored in, and it does not tell you. All it tells you is ceramic tank.
Huh.
So, I'm like, well, I'd need one of each and then figure out what size I need, But this one, the tank, the coils and everything on this lasted me. I wasn't using it constantly. It's just when I was out of cigarettes, but it lasted me about 2 months, 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
So it lasted quite a long time, but I don't want to have to deal with sending something back. And I don't want to waste $10 on something that I can't use.
Right.
So, but I do like this little coil. I like this little pen because it's little. It doesn't take up much space, and it functions really well. So, but yeah, I would switch to the vape if I could, because then you don't get. Because I still have a bottle and a half of juice from when I bought it before.
Yeah.
And I would just have to find some place else that has reliable juice, because the place I bought the juice from, I also bought a vape pen from, and that vape pen did not work. It tried to kill me. I had to throw it away. I just threw it away. I was like, screw it. And that cost me like $17. But I ordered 3 juices, and I got 2, and they still billed me for 3.
Huh.
And when I contacted them and told them they said, oh, that's out of stock. It's been out of stock forever. I'm like, then why did you bill me for it? And they're like, we can't help you. And they hung up. And I'm like, okay, I'm not dealing with this company anymore. Yeah, it wasn't that it was only $2, but still, it's $2 that I was out,
Right.
So, we have a ton of vape shops here in town. I think we have like 4 or 5 vape shops in my town, but I can't get to any of them.
Right.
And none of them sell anything online. I'm like, ah.
Oh man.
So, and they don't deliver. So I have to find a reliable place that has good juice that's not nasty, you know.
Yeah.
And if I go the vape way, which and
Yeah.
I actually with the vape I want to start cutting down on the nicotine in it.
Yeah.
And eventually have no nicotine in it, you know. Because health wise and my age, and
you just got to be careful of what chemical they're using in there for the liquid too. So
yeah, I don't want any of that shit from China.
No,
thank you. So, and the vape shops around here, they'll advertise, U.S. made and da da da. And we did. John and I got juice for the vapes that we had from one place, and the guy was really friendly. He kept trying to sell us the bigger bottles, and I'm like, look, we don't know what your juice, smells or tastes like. So I'm not going to buy a big bottle of it and not like it. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But their juice was pretty good. It was actually pretty good. Like I had the one juice, the half a bottle I have is lemon pound cake. Robin recommended it.
Yeah.
And it's excellent. It smells so good. I mean, the taste is kind of but it smells really good. The smell makes me happy. I love the smell of citrus. The other one I got was vanilla cupcake, and it's not that good. So, I mean, it's iffy. Some are good and some are bad. So,
right.
And when you order online and you can't actually smell what it's supposed to smell like in person, it's more difficult to pick the juice.
Right.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with quitting. It's just quitting all at once is not something that I want to do. And being forced to quit is not good because that doesn't work.
Right.
But gradually cutting down on the nicotine that's in the juice is something that would be a goal so that I could quit completely.
Yeah.
And still have, I mean, biggest thing with me is like when I'm talking or online or on the phone is the habit of smoking the cigarette. It's the hand motion. It's, I mean, when I'm out of cigarettes, I still catch myself reaching to flick and I have nothing in my hand. The times when I was in the hospital for 5 days a stretch, I was still reaching to grab a cigarette, but the patches worked pretty well. They kept me from ripping off people's heads anyway. So
yeah,
I guess that's a good thing. But eventually I will quit. I just, the lectures that my neighbor gives me annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And my mom's sitting there going, well, you need to not smoke as much. I've been smoking since I was 11 years old, and I only smoke 1.5 to 2 packs a day. I think I'm doing pretty fucking good. I'm 52, I'm like, ugh. But yeah, so, but I don't have any problem quitting. I just, with the thought of quitting, it's just, I know it will drive me crazy, and I have enough stress, anxiety, and depression as it is. So the habit of, or motion, if I start getting too much in my own head, I will grab a cigarette, and it like resets my brain.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a chemical reset, like it's a mental reset. Like I want it to reset, so it does. And when I don't have cigarettes, I end up in my own head too much, and that's never a good thing.
Well, dang, everybody's leaving us.
Yeah, there's other stuff going on online.
Yeah, and
they're all. I'm at my 3 hour and 17 minute mark.
We're anyway. 18 minutes over, so.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, Victorian Adams auction is on. That's why.
Oh.
And Lydia's on too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who she is. Have you ever?
I know Lydia. Yeah.
Lydia is so sweet. She's like
Victoria. She's given me a ton of stuff too.
She's like Victoria with a real accent.
Yeah.
Locker Nuts is on too. There's 149 people in Locker Nuts.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, Lydia. I told Lydia I'd stop in hers if I had, if she was still on when I ended my live. So
yeah, I guess I need to go tell her hi. I haven't said anything to her in a while. So
she gets so excited when I come into her show. She's like, "Kodi, my lovely Kodi." I'm like, it makes me feel good, Yeah. But yeah, so I'm gonna end this, and we're gonna wander around and, be little chat whores and.
Yeah, I probably need to push this computer away and lay down and get my feet up off the ground for a little while.
Yeah. But thank you for